Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown, but you may call me Muad'Dib. And joining me is Andrew Meadows, who I know as Lisan Al-Gaib. But, who else is here besides the Kwisatz Haderach himself, Mr. Henrique Jaime? How's everyone doing on this evening?
Let me calculate that.
Oh, Mentat calculations. Very
by
good.
By my calculations, this would be the 262nd episode of the Watch, Review, Repeat podcast.
That's right. That's right. Correct?
Oh, okay.
That's correct.
That's correct.
We're here.
How many hours have we spoken in 262 episodes?
There's probably a way to do the math of that. If only we had an
average 8 hours per episode.
Some more complicated calculations. I'll leave it to the Mentat in the room. Go for it. What do you got? Just let us know. It's many hours, especially because at least as of late, we've been doing some long episodes, some 3+ hour episodes, and I gotta say, we're talking about Dune Part 2. If that hasn't been abundantly clear to this point, it might be another 3+ hour one. I'm just warning everyone at the top. We haven't actually recorded, obviously. We're here doing it now, and we're going to try to do what we can to limit the non-Dune stuff as much as possible so that it's not a 4 or 5 hour sort of deal, but this is a big one. This is perhaps the big one, at least for Andrew and I, Henrique. You're here even though it's not a Marvel movie. I guess we should probably acknowledge that.
It's a
bit unusual. But the reason for that is because we've done a couple Marvel things that you haven't been able to join us in person for. We talked a lot in text about this movie. Everyone kind of had their own separate viewing experiences, and it kind of felt silly to just not include you at that point because it was clear
glad to be here.
We are all in on the Dune train. Again, obviously it's been completely clear that Andrew and I have been because it comes up in every fucking episode for the past year. And it came up longer because they bumped it back 4 months, to be fair. That wasn't
bullshit.
Our fault. That wasn't our fault. But yeah, we're happy to have you here. I'm glad that you're able to join us. I think we had some scheduling conflicts that prevented you from joining us for What If and Echo, and you were nice enough, obviously, to send in your recorded thoughts for those, your contributions for our year in review episode as well. But yeah, we're here. We're here to talk about Dune Part 2. I mean, I think Echo obviously was our first project of 2024. But this is where the year really begins, I think, overall, kicking it off in the biggest way possible with what I would calculate, having looked at all those things that we talked about coming out in 2024, this to me feels like the event movie of the year. I mean, maybe something will come and displace it later in the year. Like, maybe there's some stuff that we'll talk about later that could be, bigger box office wise, but this to me feels like, is anything going to exceed the hype levels that we had going into this movie?
And this is just the beginning.
Oh, is it? Is it now? It's what I was told a few years ago anyway. So I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited if people can't tell. I think, Andrew, you've been awfully quiet so far.
I have to.
Dune is your baby.
Besides
baby B, Bennett, this is your baby.
I will.
This is your second child.
Once we open the box, right?
You're
put your hand in the box and then you take your hand out of the box.
Put your hand in the box.
Letting the pain. You're letting the pain of the Gom Jabbar just circulate within you, and then
holding it up to his neck.
Just let it all out. Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. I think that's a fair enough approach. You got to dam up, and then the dam's going to break at some point.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. Well.
But I did come.
I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Oh, go ahead. Go for it. No.
I was gonna say I can give you a tidbit of Dune things.
Oh,
I can give you a fun fact if you like.
Okay. Well, let me just say, I think something that I want to address up the top, and then we're going to get into fun facts, maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know. We all came individually prepared with fun facts, and they may or may not be the same fun facts.
They're all going to be fun, though.
But the fun of recording. But yeah, they'll all be
fun.
Facts. Even if they are the same, they're all fun. And they may be facts.
100%.
But they usually are.
Factual facts.
Yeah, the only thing I just wanted to note, because this is our first time recording anything like a regular episode in probably over a month now. So what happened, obviously, is we did Killers of the Flower Moon and Echo in one big long episode. Then after that, we actually recorded our look ahead episode like super early. There was a weekend where Andrew was alone at home for the weekend, and it felt like this is a good time to just, stuff in as much recording as possible. So we switched things around so that we could have a little extra time to watch movies for the year in review episode, which then turned into year in review episodes because we ended up splitting that over a couple nights. So this is the first time we're like back in a while. We contemplated, I think, when we were, in early February recording the year, the look ahead episode, like, oh, look at all these February things that are like really cool. Maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll have an episode on that. No, none of that happened. Things got really like kind of behind in terms of editing for me. I didn't get the look ahead episode out until early March, which is not uncommon. Like it's happened before, but it was still pretty late in the game, especially given where we recorded it. And I felt as I was editing, I'm like, oh, this is already a bit dated feeling, but no big deal. But anyway, this is Dune. It's not Lisa Frankenstein. It's not Madame Web, and it's not those other things that we could have done. But yeah. I just wanted to say that to kind of do the housekeeping bit up top. Now, I would love to hear Andrew, Henrique, whoever wants to begin here. Maybe a fun fact about Dune Part 2, if you got something like, along those lines.
So,
what's your fun fact?
I thought this was incredibly interesting.
Well, it sounds like it should be fun then.
On top of and saying this is what I'm going to get excited.
You're going to lose his words.
I was just going to say, on top of the production majesty that this movie is, okay, and just the level of detail and just all of it, okay.
Yeah, if only there were a phrase to describe what this movie is, but maybe we'll use it later. No worries. We don't need to get there yet.
These people made an entire fucking language, and they made an entire language that is prevalent through the whole fucking movie. It's not like we have one scene where we're talking a little bit in Fremen. You know what I mean? Like when you go we watched Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? And there's
that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
There's times when
it's in Elvish or whatever.
Yeah, just a little bit here, a little bit there. They made the language, you know what I mean, and it's it's spoken eloquently, and not to put anything down on Lord of the Rings, okay? But we have like hours of content here with spoken Fremen. I mean, it feels like a real language. And kudos to the actors the actors and actresses that learn it and speak it with conviction. And that just blew my mind. That it's a completely fabricated language. So that's my fun fact.
That is pretty cool. And I'm completely off the cuff here, but I feel like the language was it maybe developed by someone that worked on Lord of the Rings too. I'm not sure, or is it?
I'm not sure about that.
The language, like how much of the language was built for the original book versus?
I think only some. Like I don't think Frank Herbert created like an entire language and dialect.
He didn't go full Tolkien with it in terms of like I have crafted an entire.
So they had some to go from
that in depth with my stuff. Yeah,
but then they had to create like the rest of it and expand it. Yeah,
that's interesting stuff. Really, really cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe I guess Dothraki maybe is another comparison point from Game of Thrones, where it's the whole culture and a whole language unto itself, which is just I don't even know where you'd begin. So ridiculous, but just a notch in the belt of everything that goes into a movie like this, right?
Linguists David and Jesse Peterson discuss the joys of building out the lexicon of the Fremen language, which is called Jacobsa. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Jacobsa.
Yeah, that's
nice.
Very impressive. Very impressive. All right.
IndieWire actually has the article on that, which is
okay. Yeah, maybe I'll throw a link to that in the episode description for anyone that wants to dive even deeper on that, get some more details from the source. That's probably a way to do it. All right, Henrique, is that your fun fact? Do you have something different for the table?
That was not. I'm sure there's a whole ton of fun facts we can keep going out, but
we could do a whole episode of fun facts, but we probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I thought something that was interesting about this movie is there's so many great performances, and we have some newcomers to the scene, as I'm sure we'll talk about. So Austin Butler, as we know, is a very method actor, himself. Right? Like he was Elvis.
Still is.
And he continued to be Elvis. And he might still be Elvis. And the man is a very deep method actor. And, to do the same, he wanted to channel what it meant to be like from the world of Dune and to be in Gady Prime. So apparently he blacked out his teeth every day and fought like different slaves every single day just to get in character.
He fought different slaves.
No,
This man was killing people left and right.
This is a fun not fact.
That sounds like a true level of method acting that is reserved only for Jared Leto. I will say that's Jared Leto shit right there.
For the best, he seems like a sane person, and he said he decided not to do method acting for this film and just focus on the other things.
I decided not to do method acting for this film.
So, but
it didn't work out in the last one. I'm still method acting the entire time. So,
as you mentioned with the Elvis voice. This was a very purposeful thing because a lot of people were like, he sounds like a Skarsgård, and that was actually a very purposeful thing. So he took some lessons, training, whatever you want to call it, to actually make his voice sound more like Stellan Skarsgård and kind of the Skarsgård family. So that's why he has that bit of like Swedish accent almost in the film.
Okay.
And he apparently put on like a ton of muscle for this role. So he did some things, but not full on method acting like he did for Elvis.
He wasn't killing slaves, which is good.
No, he did not kill any slaves. He
would probably not
it sounds like he went to a gym, and just probably ate a lot of chicken.
Went to a gym and decided, well, instead of being Elvis, I'll be Swedish Elvis.
Yes.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Very good. I have one fun fact to offer as well. And I had a sneaking suspicion that I knew Andrew for sure was going to get into some technical, thing that went into making of the movie. Enrique, I wasn't sure. You're a bit more of a wild card. Sometimes, we never know what we were going to get from you. But I figured it was likely that my fun fact would not be preempted, and I'm happy to say I do have a third fun fact to offer. And it does not involve the making of this movie. It involves the release of this movie, and the fact that. Denny and the people involved made one man's dream come true before he passed away, and this was someone who lived in Quebec in his 50s in palliative care, had a dying wish of, I want to see Dune Part 2, which is completely relatable. I think any of us found ourselves in those unfortunate shoes of being on death's door, and Dune Part 2 is knocking on the door. It just feels like,
oh man,
if I could only just see it. If I could see Dune Part 2, something I think, this is funny, I listened back to our coverage of Dune Part 1 in preparation, because I kind of wanted to revisit, see how hyped we were back in the day, see if we could maybe match that energy or whatever. And something I think that Andrew said at the time was, now that I've seen Dune, I can die a happy man. Maybe not an exact quote, but basically that legitimate sentiment. So clearly you're not alone in that sort of feeling. But yeah, it was really cool. The production team made it happen for this guy. They screened the movie 6 weeks before it actually came out in theaters. So, we're talking about 2 months ago, roughly now. They brought it to this facility in Canada on Mr. Denis Villeneuve's laptop. They brought it on his laptop so that they could watch it on a laptop. Even Denny said, it's a speedboat in the bathtub. Yeah. But I understand, because they couldn't get this guy to a theater or anything like that, So
that's amazing, though.
So Denny's assistant flew it in himself. Brought the laptop, was there. Everyone put their phone away, signed NDAs, and then they got this guy to watch the movie, and they were on their way, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
To make that sort of magic happen for someone, when they're obviously, not long for this world, I think is really, really awesome. And it's a movie that there's a lot of hype behind it. There is some secrecy to some extent, but I also kind of feel like, you could probably,
it's based on a book.
What's going to happen by reading a book that came out 60 years ago or whatever. So it's not like some crazy thing that they needed to super duper protect. But I think that, I don't think anyone broke their NDAs as a result of this or anything like that. So yeah, it's really cool. Really, really, really nice gesture, I think, from people involved in making this movie. So
awesome.
3 fun facts, guys. 3 fun facts. How about that? Very, very fun. And you know what? We didn't spend 30 minutes on it, which is impressive for us.
And it was all very factual.
It was factual, and it was fun.
For the most part.
Except.
Yeah, mine was sad. Mine was a sad fact. But I think good. Like, a heartwarming fact in some ways.
It's very fun. That guy had a fun time watching.
Maybe not the exact definition. I bet he had the fucking one of the last few times of his life, So hell of a way to go out, at least. Now we're going to shift gears. I guess this maybe actually kind of dovetails from my fun facts in a sort of, I guess, clean sort of way. Originally, we were going to record a few days ago, and then things didn't happen, so we had to push things. And then in the interim, of course, some really sad news came out, and it felt like we should certainly use the opportunity to include that here. And that is the passing of legendary manga author Akira Toriyama, who I think is most recognizable as the creator of Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball manga, which I think he wrote an ungodly amount, probably. I don't know exactly. I don't have the numbers. But he wrote a bunch of other stuff. Dr. Slump, many things I haven't read, I guess we should say. I've never read, obviously, the original Dragon Ball. I think all three of us kind of know Dragon Ball as the anime that it was later adapted into. But beyond talking about just Dragon Ball specifically, he did a lot of character designs for the Dragon Quest series, which obviously has had many, many entries. He did the character designs for my favorite video game of all time, Chrono Trigger. And then he worked on an Xbox 360 JRPG called Blue Dragon as well, which is one I always wanted to play because I loved the design of it. Never actually did. Although I do think I maybe own it digitally. I'm not 100%. But I think Dragon Ball is kind of one of the big things, and kind of more. His death was announced. I think he was 68 years old, so not very old. I believe it was described as a acute subdural hematoma, which to me, not the doctor in the room, obviously sounds like head trauma of some sort. And so I'm not really sure what the exact cause was. It feels like it's kind of seems like an unusual circumstance. But yeah, just really out of nowhere news. I was just going to say, I think later in his life, he became really, really more heavily involved in Dragon Ball Z, the anime. He did a lot of work. I think he was writing on maybe Super, and then writing on some of the movies that they've done more recently as well. Full disclosure, obviously, this is very much not my territory. You guys are probably better equipped to speak on Dragon Ball and everything else here. But I at least wanted to start this here and obviously say my piece and say rest in peace to Akira Toriyama. So I'll leave it at that. I'll turn it over to you guys if you guys have anything you want to say here, put on the record and such. So
yeah, I mean, I think this overall just sucks. It's kind of surprising, and when it came out, and I think this was yesterday, just about. So it was almost very recent, week after he had passed, and it sounds like Akira Toriyama is a very reclusive kind of person. Kind of, he described himself. Didn't really love to be in the spotlight, so not necessarily shocking that things weren't so public. But yeah, I think this is a huge blow for the anime community, but also just I think anyone who's not really that into anime, like, has probably heard of Dragon Ball, watched some Dragon Ball, like Z is familiar with like Kamehameha and like, Goku and some of those things, Super Saiyan, especially probably in our generation. I remember growing up watching tons of Dragon Ball Z. I have some of the original like Dragon Ball manga, which I think is really cool because he did the story and he drew for it too. Yeah. So yeah, I have some different Dragon Ball things. Yeah. So I think Dragon Ball Z was always probably one of the things that got me into anime. Probably the same for a lot of other people, like here in the States with Toonami and Adult Swim and those kind of things. So yeah, I think it sucks. Really thankful for all that he's given us, and to me, this almost feels kind of like a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, like someone who's created such a huge thing and has impacted so many people across the world that got to be just thankful for what we have. And he actually was, seems like pretty prolific in his work. So obviously did Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, which is the one that I think most people kind of aren't like that big on and probably fell off on. He actually it wasn't really based on his manga. And then he came back into Dragon Ball Super, which was pretty fun. Came out, some years ago now. And there was actually a new anime series. I was looking up to see when they announced it, but last year they announced that there was a new series by Akira Toriyama. So I don't know how far that's going out, but that's supposed to come out this year. It's called Dragon Ball Daima. And he also was still publishing manga too. So he was clearly still doing what he loved. And I think, I guess my last piece is, just rest in peace to Akira Toriyama, and thank you for all the amazing, anime and manga that you've given us over the years, and many of the other projects, like you said, which I haven't explored all of it, but
just the very briefest of Wikipedia dives.
Yeah, no, I think
there's a lot there to unpack. So,
I think like with these characters, you think about the Supermans and the Spider-Mans and like Goku and other characters from Dragon Ball, like such huge inspirations of like what you can do. And I know a lot of people who talk about like they started working out because of Goku or Vegeta or whoever, and like all these things. So yeah, I think, like I said, just a huge influence over the world. So we'll definitely be missed.
It's such a and like the time that we were exposed to that too. It really kind of helps form your like opinion on pop culture and everything. You know what I mean? He huge influence, and in my life, I like you say, I used to get off the school bus and immediately go home, watch Toonami. Mm-hmm. It was Gundam and it was Dragon Ball, and every day we'd go and watch Dragon Ball, and I think it was Dragon Ball Z at that time,
probably Z,
and then ended up getting into Dragon Ball before that. But like I said, I mean, he's responsible for my opinion on entertainment in general. So, it's a sad thing.
And definitely a sad thing. Rest in peace to Akira Toriyama. Now, are we ready to get into our other news? Are you ready to do that? All right. So here's the deal. We're going to try to keep things relatively light, so I've contained it. There's a whole lot of news that has obviously come out over the past month or so, like I said, since we really recorded a proper episode. But I'm going to keep it to a couple bigger Marvel Studios news, and then we're going to do the Super Bowl catch-up, because we had recorded our look-ahead episode before the Super Bowl happened, before these trailers came out as part of the Super Bowl marketing. And so we're playing a little bit of catch up on that front, but some good ones obviously to talk about as well. So starting on the Marvel Studios front, Marvel just decided in unceremonious fashion on Valentine's Day that it's time to confirm the cast of the Fantastic Four. And so they just dropped the big news basically in a tweet or a post, as it's sometimes called now, thanks to Elon Musk. And it was this Happy Valentine's Day poster, giving us maybe a first look at perhaps the style and setting of what the movie is going to be. The new logo treatment, which is definitely some retro-inspired aesthetic. The new title, which is The Fantastic Four as compared to Fantastic Four, as compared to Fant4stick, it could have been if they wanted to reclaim that, but they did not.
That's for the best.
They confirmed the I think long rumored cast that I after this came out, I did the thing. I looked back at our coverage of the rumor mill. I think when Pedro Pascal himself was kind of announced through Deadline as being Mr. Fantastic, there was a rumored lineup at that point, and indeed that rumored lineup was exactly correct. So we have Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Susan Storm, a.k.a. the Invisible Woman, Eben Moss-Backrack as Ben Grimm, a.k.a. the Thing, and then we have Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, a.k.a. the Human Torch. So you've definitely heard those names if you've listened to us regularly before, but now they are confirmed. And now we have this art to really talk about. I think we maybe would have touched a little bit on the casting then and there, obviously without getting excited about anyone because no one was confirmed. But this art is really interesting. It's definitely got a marked 60s look to it. Herbie, the robot, makes an appearance in this as well. Does that mean we're going to get full-on Herbie in this? Lots of things to unpack. So I'm excited, is what I'll say, just to start this news coverage here. I'm very excited. I think it's a really good cast, and I like this idea of a retro-inspired Fantastic Four movie. And so why don't we start there? I'm just going to leave that there. What do you guys think about the cast, poster, anything along these lines?
I think it looks great. I think it's I think a lot of the problems that we've had previously with the other Fantastic Four movies is
all the bad ones,
yeah,
all of them,
which is all of them, yes.
Is like that sense of family, that it's supposed to have, right? And I think that you got everybody's favorite dad as Mr. Fantastic, and
favorite
I think
daddy,
that
perhaps
I think setting it in this time, this period, I think it makes it I don't know, seems like it might make it a little easier to make a family-ish kind of deal, you know what I mean, to make that dynamic more realized. I really like his sweater. I like it a lot, actually. I wouldn't
Pretty
mind
sweet.
owning that blue sweater.
a little turtleneck.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Everybody looks really happy, So it looks fun, which I think is another thing that's been missing from Fantastic
what you
good.
want it to be.
Fantastic
Fun
Four.
is good.
The 10 story ones were fun. They were also bad. But Fantastic was very much just both grim, dark, and bad. Like, it was the worst combination possible for something like Fantastic Four, which very traditionally is a sort of a lot more fun, comic than others.
Right.
It's supposed to be enjoyable and fun and light and whimsical and stuff. So yeah, I agree. It does kind of capture that. Enrique, how you feel about it?
Yeah, it's Marvel's first family, and first off, the cast I think is great. Like, we obviously all love Pedro Pascal, but the other three I think I could easily see them in each role. So I like that. I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I think making it a different time period could make it easier with the continuity and everything too. So it's so far so good. John Watts is still attached to the Rectus, or I feel like he left, or what happened? What's the deal with the director?
He is not. He's gone. It's Matt Shakman that's directing.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Who did WandaVision and in 500 episodes of Always Sunny before that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll see. I'm excited to see a trailer and that the project is moving forward, because I think this is a big one that Marvel needs to get right. You can't have three stinkers in a row.
No. Yeah. Something I'll also say is, everyone looks right, like the casting is fitting, but I feel like, everyone kind of looks like The Thing has the pronounced brow and just looks right. And like, you don't necessarily know that these are going to be the exact costumes. This could just be like a sort of concept art, like based on what we want to do for the movie and stuff like that. We don't know exactly how closely this is going to match, but I hope it is close, because I love the style of it. I've heard two kind of like floated ideas of how this could work. Is it's set in the 60s in our universe, and they get lost in space and time, and that's kind of why they're absent for the MCU to this point, and they'll maybe, a wormhole will bring them to the present, some sort of thing. I've also heard, because we're so deep into multiverse shenanigans, that they're just living in another universe that either has like a 60s type of aesthetic, like Jetsons kind of shit, or it's just in the 60s of that, and then they'll get pulled from that universe into ours at some point. So I think either could work. Obviously a third option could work too. But I do think they're going to have to do some, they had to do some splaining, of why there's been no reference to the Fantastic Four existing, because, a big rock guy, a stretchy guy, an invisible woman, and a big, a guy that can fucking turn on fire and fly around and shit. Like, that feels like things that would have come up to this point if they were around, in the 60s. So I don't know. I'm excited. This made me probably tenfold more excited. The cast I was excited about alone. The posters sold me in a way that even the cast alone probably wouldn't have. I think this was a really kind of great way of giving us this news, confirming everything, confirming the long rumored cast, and they're all great performers. Pedro obviously is, owning it. Vanessa Kirby, watched very recently in The Crown myself. She's fantastic. Mission Impossible movies as well. Evan Moss Backrack is no stranger to Marvel himself. He was in Punisher as Micro, but I think we're doing a little double casting.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I think he's been very popular in the Bear.
Yeah,
recently.
the Bear. That's where known from, really.
And then Joseph Quinn, I think, kind of very much broke out with Stranger Things as you know, as a scene stealing performance as Eddie Munson, and maybe he's in something else we're talking about later. So leave that at that. Very, very excited for that. Follow-up news to that is, as part of this announcement, they announced that it has moved the release date of the Fantastic Four to July 25th of 2025, which was originally when Thunderbolts was set. And so as a result, they've just pushed Thunderbolts back to the original Fantastic Four date of May 2nd, 2025. So 2024, we're only getting one Marvel movie, and we're going to talk about it later. But in 2025, I think there's actually 4 still on the books.
Damn.
But we'll see. I think it'll be probably no more than 3. I think Blade is the 4th one on there, and it seems unlikely that that actually happens, at least as soon as that, because it just seems like that's the movie that always gets pushed off to the side and delayed and whatnot. And I forget what the other one is for what the scheduled 4th release is supposed to be. Captain America, Brave New World, is supposed to kick off the year with February. So I think we're going to get 3. I think we're going to get Captain America, Thunderbolts, into the Fantastic Four, and then Blade is maybe a November release. If they can get 4, great. It just feels like Bob Iger has been very vocal about, we're slowing shit down, with Marvel and Disney and all that good stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something get moved anyway. So there you go. There's that, and then we're going to move on to the second piece of Marvel Studios news, which is the first of everything from now on is all trailers, but it's the first of those. It wasn't technically part of the Super Bowl marketing, but it came out not too far after, and it's the Disney Plus revival of the '97 X-Men animated series called appropriately X-Men '97. So we're getting. I think it's 9 or 10 episodes. They put out a trailer for this showing off the new animation style, which is kind of a almost cel-shaded look to it. And yeah, it's just kind of full on, I guess, just continuing the story from the original. So I'll just hand it off here. What are you guys thinking about X-Men '97? Anyone hyped for this shit?
It's pretty cool.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah.
When I watched it. That the beginning of this trailer, how it starts off with that, your 4x3, super kind of just dated looking, and it zooms in, and then
right, you got the old school, like maybe CRT TV or whatever, and it's just because I think it's the beginning is footage from the original show, so and then it gives you that transition.
Yeah, the last episode, I think, and it like zooms in, and then you get surround sound. And and it looks great, and it just it looks fucking cool. I'm really pumped up about it. I mean, it's I've had watch 5 episodes and then not watch any episodes here for a little bit. But it's kind of pushed me to I need to get through this because it's right around the corner, March 20th. So
So to alleviate some concerns of, oh God, I have to watch 50 episodes in the next couple weeks. It's going to be a weekly release. They're doing 2 on the March 20th, and then it's weekly up until May 15th. So you've got a little time to fully get caught up if you're trying to watch this as it airs. So
right, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
it kind of sucks.
Or you can just wait till May 15th and watch.
You could just wait until May 15th and then binge 10 episodes. Is another viable
take your pick.
viewing option. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I think it's cool when you update something, but you still keep the overall aesthetic and everything. Like, I hope that's what they do with a future Avatar project or anything like that. It's keep some of the charm and the animation, and you can still tweak it and make it a little bit nicer and add better sound and this and that, but make it a clear continuation, and obviously with the story too. So I think it's really cool.
Are you a fan of the original animated series, the 90s animated series?
I am. I never actually finished it, so I need to also go back and kind of go through all the episodes that I missed.
Andrew, do you think that you watched the entirety of that back in the day, or
I'm pretty sure I did.
Okay. Yeah, I think I always kind of watched episodes here and there, when I was younger, And so I've been making the concerted effort to watch it in sequence, now that it's been on Disney Plus for a while. But I'm still.
It was a
probably
Saturday
2+
morning
seasons
cartoon,
away
right?
from finishing it.
That and Spider-Man?
I'm sure, yeah.
Probably,
yeah.
On like
I gotta
UPN
imagine,
44 or whatever it was.
Sounds vaguely familiar,
Yeah. Spider-Man.
Good stuff.
The 90s Spider-Man, I was a big fan of that one too.
Hey, if they want to do the same thing for Spider-Man, the animated series, I'd be super down for that. I don't know if the rights are more complicated. I think Marvel has animation, or actually, I don't know who has the animation rights. I think it's Marvel, but I don't know. That might be a weird sort of legal.
It's just easier to make the X-Men, I guess, right? So
right, yeah. At this point, you just own them outright, no big deal. This looks cool. I think there's a certain level of nostalgia obviously attached to all of the old show, but I was kind of attached to the animation style as well, and I feel like this is evoking it, but it's still very clearly a bit different. And some of the characters and stuff kind of threw me off a little bit. It's a lot of the original voice cast coming back for those who could, I guess. I think the old Cyclops voice actor I don't think is alive anymore, so they're limited with obviously certain characters. I think characters like Jubilee, they're like, all right, we're not going to have white people voicing people of color anymore, so they changed that. Yeah, shit like that. It's like, all right, fair enough. But I think it's cool. I don't know. I am excited for it. I think it's just a really cool idea to just revive this super nostalgic show that, I don't know.
It's a real out of left field move, really. I mean, you would never thought it would happen,
No, of course not. Yeah, I think maybe that's what it is. It's just never in a million years would have anyone expected X-Men the animated series to get a pickup of a new season. 30 years later or whatever.
Right.
So really cool. So anyway, March 20th, and then like I said, weekly releases through May. So there you have it. There you have it on the Marvel Studios front. For now, but we're gonna pivot and talk about the Super Bowl and all the goodies that the Super Bowl offered. Obviously we should note up top, obviously, that the Kansas City Taylor Swift's won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. The PSYOP was successul.
Joe Biden posted a hilarious
Joe Biden posted
as planned
a tweet, with I think the red eyes. I forget. I don't know if it's just. I feel like there's a nickname for. Is it
Dark Brandon or
Dark? Is that his Dark Brandon
I
persona?
Think so,
is that what it is? Yeah. Just honestly, I don't care. I'm sure it was an intern that posted it, but it was well done.
That's pretty funny. It was
pretty funny. It was pretty funny. It wasn't the most exciting Super Bowl for me. I didn't really care who won the game walking into it. I was kind of rooting for the teams that lost to them in the championship rounds to make it to the Super Bowl at that point.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, though. I mean, good for the Swifties. Good for Taylor Swift. Good stuff. So, but anyway.
I thought the halftime show was pretty good too.
Halftime show was good.
Usher,
I thought Usher was good.
Was killing it.
Roller skating around and shit like
that.
Yeah.
That's like choreographed roller skating at that. That's pretty
impressive,
I
that
think.
Was impressive.
Good guests. Good, brought out some good guests.
Yeah, that was fun. No, that was good.
Ludacris. It was good. It was good. Good fun. But the Super Bowl brought us obviously many commercials, but then maybe some TV spots. And then I think the trend these days is some of them do like the 30-second spot, and then at the end it's go watch the full trailer online. So there's a lot of those that we're going to talk about. But we're going to start with Quiet Place Day 1, which we got both a TV spot for and an official trailer as well. And this is the one that is starring the Human Torch himself, Joseph Quinn. He is a lead, but he is not the lead. It's Lupita Nyong'o that is leading this one. And I think the title pretty much captures it. In terms of what this is about. It's very much a Quiet Place prequel, bringing us back to how shit went down, following, I guess, a different setting and, group of characters probably as well. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think? You guys want some based on this trailer? Does this get you excited for Quiet Place Day 1?
I don't know. I think I really like the first and the second films. And I feel like the more we keep going into it, maybe the more of the mystery that's taken out of it. So I really don't know. I really like Lupita Nyong'o, I like Joseph Quinn, and I like the flashback in the second movie, but I don't know that I need it. So that's kind of my gripe with it. It's like I just don't know if I need this film.
I mean, fair. I think those are words that can be uttered about, I think, most prequels in general.
Yeah.
You know, they often beg the question of, do we need this? Why? Things along those lines. But I think it's fair. I think it's a fair read on it. Andrew, do you feel the same way? Do you feel differently based on what you saw?
No, I feel different about it.
You're in for this?
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. It looks like I kind of have live, die, repeat vibes a little bit, just from like the way that the creatures,
monsters, maybe
the monsters are like descending on Earth in a populated city. Nobody knows how the shit works. Nobody knows how they just know that everybody's getting fucked up. Everybody's dying around everybody, you know? So, the chaos, the chaos in it.
And it's going to be different from what we saw because everyone kind of knew how to act, which is to say, don't speak, don't make noise, you know, and here no one knows what the fuck's going on. So you're going to have people getting destroyed left and right because everything is just loud.
I'm going to die.
So it goes from a suspense, like a really well-made suspenseful kind of monster movie, to like
something more frenetic.
Exactly.
More
yeah. And it looks like they're kind of like,
which maybe sets it apart and maybe that answers the question of, this is going to feel the Quiet Place Part 1 and Part 2 are the alien, you know, quote, alien of the franchise. This is the aliens of the franchise, where it's just a totally different kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Potentially. Obviously, you still got to make a good one. You got to make a good movie, you know.
But I think that you can, I think the universe is interesting enough.
It could work.
I think it can work. So I'm excited about it. I thought the trailer was well made.
All right. Well, June 28th is when this is coming out, and maybe we'll find ourselves in a theater watching it and seeing what it is, seeing what it's like. I think this is definitely it could go either way. It could definitely go the way of, we did not need this, I did not ask for this, no thank you. But maybe there is a way that it differentiates itself enough to make it a worthwhile kind of, not just kind of cash grabby sort of thing. So we'll see. This trailer didn't make me excited, but it also didn't make me think, fuck, what is this shit?
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So,
no.
So,
yeah, definitely not.
Now, maybe there is something that did make me feel a little bit that way, and maybe I'm alone here. Maybe I'm alone. We'll find out. But Wicked is coming out this Thanksgiving. And funnily enough, when we talked about it on the Look Ahead episode, I called it Wicked Part 1 because it was announced as Wicked Part 1 and Part 2, and I made a comment being like, maybe they should just not call it Part 1 because that worked poorly for Mission Impossible. It seems like the more savvy business strategy is to hide the fact that you're a Part 2 movie, which is, to be fair, maybe one of the originators of this is Dune, because that was marketed as Dune, and then it wasn't until we came into the theater and it said Dune Part 1, we're just like, oh, what? Okay. I mean, I want more, obviously, but didn't know it was fully planned as Part 1. So Wicked. We got a first look at it, just about a minute, showing off this adaptation of the musical Wicked, Broadway musical Wicked, which I really, really like the Broadway musical. I think it's some great music. I think it's a very fun stage show. And it's an interesting story as a, sort of untold Wizard of Oz prequel and such. But this trailer, this first look, whatever you want to call it, I thought it looked bad. I thought it looked quite bad. To me, this looks like, just visually, it looked like noise, if that makes sense. Like just very overly CG and unimpressive designs and everything. I think the casting is really bad. Both Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande feel horribly out of place and miscast here. I like Michelle Yeoh. I like Jeff Goldblum. So maybe that can be something. But this just, to me, it feels very like Nutcracker in the Four Realms. Like the big live-action Disney movies where they spend $200 million and it just looks like ass and no one cares. That it's giving me those vibes. I'd love to be wrong. It's a property that totally could work. And even though they're pretending that it's not Part 1, I will not let anyone forget this is Part 1. So you will not have an end to a story.
What
here.
was the they had the other Wizard of Oz movie with what's his face in it? Yeah,
James Franco as the Great and Powerful.
Yeah,
which
those were
fine. Which is fine.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Sam Raimi directed actually, but yeah, that kind of came and went.
I thought they were doo doo. I was not a fan.
Yeah. Yeah. But this kind of looks like that too. I mean, obviously it's Oz, and like it kind of should have some similarities, but it looks too close to that.
It does.
A movie that wasn't that good that came out almost, probably 15 years ago or some shit. So it's not a favorable comparison by any means. Anyway, I'm been ranting. I've said my piece. What do you guys think? Maybe you guys again feel differently or similarly to this as well. How are we feeling about Wicked?
I'm not a fan of the character design. I think that those Ariana Grande, like
Her eyebrows alone fucking you up?
Yeah, actually, yes. Yes, that's exactly. Something's not right. Why? It looks like all right, Ariana, we're gonna just spray you with white makeup all over the place, and it just doesn't look very good. So.
All right, two naysayers. Henrique, care to be a third?
This is so forgettable. This is so forgettable. I was like thinking back. I'm like,
did I watch
how
that?
Did that look? How did it go? I was like, I was at the I was watching the Super Bowl and I remember it, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's how it went. And I haven't seen the play, so I don't have a connection to it other than the Wizard of Oz, obviously. But it was like, I don't really need this, and the trailer didn't sell me like one bit on it. So I was like, okay, maybe if someone enjoys this, like, great. I assume it's not going to be as good as the play. So again, do we need this? And is this even going to make like good money? Like, is this even a financial like investment? Do we need this? I don't know. So I guess we'll see. You have some big names on it, so maybe that's enough to get people in the theaters, but it didn't convince me. Like, if the play, I think I actually tried to get tickets and we just didn't time it right.
Yeah. So
next time the Broadway comes around, we'll go to that. But this isn't, I think we're not going to catch this in theaters, to be honest.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I definitely recommend seeing it on Broadway, if nothing else. I mean, I'm sure they do tours and everything too that are probably worthwhile. But the show is like I said, is good. Great music. I kind of felt like this first look hid that it's a musical as much as possible, which I think is as we talked about, kind of the trend. You pretend you're not a musical, and then people get mad when they go to a theater. I mean, this one, I think maybe anyone that's familiar with Wicked will probably recognize, it's based off a musical. That kind of makes sense that it's a musical. But on the musical front, there is kind of like the big note that is sung at the end, and it sounded fucking horrendous. And I'm like, that's the take they went with? Oh boy, okay. All right, that tells me everything I need to know. Because that role is originated by Idina Menzel, who has an amazing voice. And the wickedly talented Adim Dazel, as she's sometimes known by John Travolta anyway. Not for me, not for any of us. It sounds like, but Thanksgiving you could check out Wicked if you were so inclined. Now on July 19th, you could check out something else entirely. You could check out Twisters, the sequel. It's the sequel to the 1996 blockbuster Twister, which I think when Andrew and I talked about it on our look ahead episode, we were kind of just like
talking about movies that do we need?
Did anyone ask for this?
That's another one.
we did make a fatal mistake. I should acknowledge. We said you asked me, is that the Bill Pullman movie? And I was like, and I think I might have said yes. It's actually the Bill Paxton movie. I have to make that slight correction, which I probably don't help matters because every time I bring up one of them, I always say Bill Paxton, not Pullman, or Bill Pullman, not Paxton, to clarify who I'm talking about. But that probably muddies the waters actually more than anything else. So anyway, Bill Paxton did not come back for Twisters, unfortunately, because he is no longer with us, which makes me sad. 'Cause he's so good. He's a great actor.
Yes.
But Twisters, we're getting some newcomers in this. We're getting a Daisy Edgar Jones. We're getting a Glenn Powell. He's owning things. He's in a lot these days. And Anthony Ramos. Some good young talent. Minari director Lee Isaac Chung is sitting in the director's chair.
I don't think I knew that.
Hey, why not?
What?
Yeah,
I think we talked about that, and we're just like, well, you need a paycheck sometimes, but maybe, just maybe, Twisters could be a bit of fun. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I thought the trailer did an effective job of making it seem more fun than what I was expecting.
Okay.
I think it captured...
sold you a little bit more than the actual premise of, or the
Yes.
idea of this sequel happening in the first place. Okay.
Yeah, I think it kind of captured the... it feels like it captured the spirit of Twister.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I need it? I definitely do not need it. Is there?
Yeah, as with most of these like legacy sequels, no one's asking for these things. But it doesn't mean that it can't be done well.
And
Right, some of them are done well.
And if for somebody that's never seen Twister, a fresh new generation's going to see Twisters.
That's true.
And it's cash grab. But it exposes these people to this franchise, I guess. If you want to call it a franchise, but
it is now.
It is now, yeah. So, anyways, it's whatever.
Does Twister have like a continued following or like a cult kind of status? I feel like I remember the ride from Universal.
No, we talked about the ride,
and that's it.
But the ride's not even there anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. Yeah, so you got to expose people to Twisters.
I think it made a lot of money when it came out. Like I think it was very popular when it came out. But I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I don't think it.
Oh, definitely could see that.
I don't think
Forrest Gump era movie. I lump it in with Forrest Gump.
Mid 90s.
Yeah,
mid 90s.
yeah.
Like 96 is when it
Yeah,
came
but I
out,
feel like
so.
Forrest Gump was like nominated for Oscars and stuff. Maybe won some Oscars too.
But did Twister win anything?
Twister was nominated for 2 Oscars.
Special effects?
Didn't win any.
Oh shit!
Visual effects is one. Any guesses on the other one?
What's the other one?
Best Kiss.
Sound?
It was Best Kiss.
Was it really?
No, Best Sound. Best Sound was the other one. Two technical nods. Not surprising. It was not nominated for Best Picture, although maybe it could have been. It was only 5 back then. If it was 10, maybe Twister would have been nominated.
It was the 6th one.
Could have been.
It was number 6.
It was just shut out, maybe, but probably not.
Yeah.
But it was popular, it had its heyday, and I think kind of just went away.
Yeah,
I think it went away. I don't think it has been in. I don't think it's got like a cult following. I mean, I think it's got people liked it back in the day, that saw it back in the day.
Sure.
But it's never really. I don't think it's not a movie. I feel like that's on TV all the time or anything like that.
Used to be though.
Yeah. It's just I can't remember the last time I saw
Yeah,
it.
maybe it was for a time, and now it's been displaced by more recent stuff, perhaps.
Yeah, it used to be one of those things where, like, in the days of cable network television, before streaming platforms, if it popped up on CNN, or not CNN, what? If it popped up on
Probably not on CNN.
TNT or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm going to watch Twister. I've seen it a number of times on cable, on cable TV.
Yeah.
Back in the day, but...
All right. So so are we a little bit more engaged with Twisters now that we've seen some footage from it?
This one's to me is like could go either way. Like I think if you like lean into the ridiculousness of it and just make it like kind of campy and kind of silly, then like that can be a lot of fun. If you take it probably too seriously, then that's where I'm like, So more fun, less serious.
I feel like this trailer definitely felt more on the fun side of things.
It felt
fun,
a little bit
and a bit
sillier,
ridiculous.
yeah.
Like we understand that it's it's fucking tornado chasers or whatever. Like we know that it's ridiculous.
And it also helps that Powell's like charismatic as hell. You know what I mean?
Charming.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just overall, it's a good, fun, young cast. So. And maybe we'll get cameos from surviving cast members from the original. I don't know. That feels like a very classic thing to do. But
maybe the original Tornado.
I wouldn't be mad if they didn't do that either. Like this is just a new generational kind of thing. You know, same kind of vibe, same thing that we're going for. But a sequel, but not one that's so reliant upon.
How about
the
a
original to
flashback
exist.
sequence where his dad is actually Bill?
That's what it is.
And
that's
we
what
get
it could be.
we get a sequence with a stand-in body
CGI?
double with some CGI face, and it's a father son experience. I'm talking about
You can
tornadoes.
do it 2 ways. You can have his head cut off in the frame, so you never actually see, but you have the dialogue lifted from other Bill Paxton things. Or you can do a horrible CG monstrosity man. So one or the other. I can see it.
I need a job in Hollywood.
Yeah, someone here as a kid of one of those fucking characters is probably what it's going to be. You're probably not wrong. You're probably not wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
So, hey, tornado chasing runs in the family. What are you going to do? So July 19th is Twisters. I think for my money, I think it looks very fun. Is this going to be dumb? Yeah, of course. Is it going to be ridiculous? Yeah, of course. If it's those and also fun and entertaining, that's what I want out of this. And I will give credit where credit is due. I loved the TWISTER pause S Twisters. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
It's self-aware.
Little thing.
It's self-aware.
Totally. It does seem.
I hope so.
What it should be. So
that's what
we want it to be. So July 19th, we'll find out. We'll find out if they pulled it off. And then we're gonna close out. We got 2 more trailers on the Super Bowl side of things. Both Disney movies. Different from each other, certainly, and not what you'd maybe think of traditionally as Disney movies, because really these are both sort of Fox movies. But as we all know, they are one and the same now. The first is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is dropping, I think, in May. Forget the exact date on it. I'll actually see it at a quick glance. But we got an official trailer for it in addition to a Super Bowl spot for it. We had a teaser for it probably a couple months back, I think. May 10th. This is early May. And so, this is the continuation of the kind of new Planet of the Apes trilogy, the Andy Serkis led one, but this is, I think, jumping forward in time, I think quite a bit from the events of those movies. So we're fully in the, full Planet of the Apes. Humans are almost kind of primal at this point now, 300 years after the last one. That's how long it's been since the last movie. So it's a huge fucking time jump. So those apes, those humans, super duper dead. This is kind of new characters, but now we've seen the evolution of the planet after the events of that trilogy 300 years on. That's what this is. So what do you guys think about the official trailer for this? Does it feel like, because those movies are pretty fucking good. I think,
I like them.
Should be said. Pretty good for what they are, and even
I don't even think you need the disclaimer.
What they are.
I think,
yeah, exactly. Like they're actually just straight up pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
So does this look like a good, worthy follow-up? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think one of the things that sells these movies is that it's just apes, right? Like this, like there's some humans, but like this is straight up just CGI apes,
yeah.
Like as the main characters,
right. Talking.
Like it's not Caesar now,
right?
But like this is just a movie with apes, and the fact that it looks so good and like you just buy it, it's so impressive. I think this is like one of those like CGI is just like. This is the power of CGI
when done well.
I like the Apes movies. I'm not like Die Hard or anything, but obviously Matt Reeves and like the team and like Andy Serkis that worked on those, I just did an amazing job. So from the trailer, like it seemed to have a lot of the same vibes and continuing some of the things. So I hope that it continues not necessarily the story, but like the things that made the first 8 films good. Yeah. I can't bring Eastline to go to see this with me because she like really has a thing against monkeys and like primates. And then actually, so we were going to watch. I'll talk about this in the catching up section, but we were at the movie theater, and it was Planet of the Apes. It was Monkey Ape Man or Monkey Man or the Patel film.
Yeah,
Monkey Man, and then it was like Kung Fu Panda, and I'm like, this is like
a nightmare.
All like monkey based,
personal nightmare,
like movies. And she was like, I'm out. Like it's too many monkeys.
I feel personally,
so I'll need to find someone else to watch. I need someone else to watch this with me, but I would like to see this one in theaters.
Well, we can go together. All right. We live pretty close.
Let's do it.
So we could do that.
Let's do it.
Andrew can come too, but he's gonna have to travel a ways for that. So
if I was gonna fly for a movie, it would have been Dune 70 millimeter. But
it wouldn't have been for Kingdom of the Apes. But yeah, fair enough.
But
maybe you'll still, even if you're not flying, up the East Coast, maybe you'll still take a trek to the theaters for this. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think this looks like I think it's a cool premise too, because now you have that. You had a little bit of this, like, I guess the post the fall of the humans, you know what I mean, and the world's deteriorated. You had a little bit of that, but it's full on now.
Yeah.
So I think that's I think it's pretty neat. I think it's a cool place to take the movie. So are so I'm all about it.
I concur. Looks good. It looks like more of the same, like visually and kind of tonally, but I think that's a really good thing, based on how good those were. And I think we said as much, but I would like to revisit that trilogy. So
That'd be a fun bonus episode.
Yeah, definitely. We'd
Or
love
bonus
to do that.
episodes, we could just...
We've got a couple months. 3 movies in 2 months. It's doable, right? Maybe.
Yeah, totally.
We'll find out. We'll see. All right. Last but not least, because Wicked is least, as we've established, we got an official teaser for Deadpool and Wolverine. New title, baby. New title. Official title. No longer Deadpool 3. It's Deadpool and Wolverine. A lot to unpack from this teaser here. Although it is a teaser, it still offered us, I think, quite a bit. This is coming to theaters July 26th. This is indeed the only MCU film we're going to be getting in the entirety of 2024. And it does seem to be shaping up to be a big one. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I believe it surpassed Spider-Man No Way Home as like the most trailer views in like a day or whatever ever. So it's clear that people are responding to this, which is not surprising. I think both Deadpool movies were hugely popular. And now this is Deadpool in the MCU, basically. So how are you guys feeling? This is certainly teasery. Didn't give us, I think, everything, but maybe it gave us enough. We'll see. What do you guys think? Deadpool and Wolverine. You guys jazzed for this one?
I think it gave us all that we need.
Right.
Like, this is just enough. This is just enough, because it's like, oh yeah, remember the story from Deadpool? Actually, I feel like in 15 seconds they're like, oh yeah, and we just took him and put him in the MCU, and like that's all you need to know, and just go from there. And
I feel like the way of doing that is using the TVA, which is a clever mechanism to have a pre-established time organization. Like, they're wearing some different suits. It looks a little different set design wise, but like,
right. And you don't have to include Loki, so it doesn't have to be like, oh, you didn't watch Loki,
right.
You're not going to understand this. It's like, just, you probably need to watch the Deadpool movies, but maybe honestly even not. Like, they might even change some things. So we'll see. This seems very separate, and Deadpool is like the character to be self-aware, and break the fourth wall and be the Messiah. As a theme in this episode.
Oh yeah, well, of course.
And
he could be the Dune Messiah, but for Marvel.
He's the Marvel Messiah. He's the MCU Messiah that he will show us a path and will bring the MCU back.
He might, though. I mean, if the trailer reviews are any indication anyway, and obviously the lackluster response to, I think, 2 out of 3 Marvel movies last year, this feels like they got one on deck, but maybe it's the one because it's fucking special, and it might just kind of reinvigorate people because it's kind of merging 2 universes, right? I mean, we're getting the Fox side of things, and then the X-Men side of things, and then we're getting the MCU kind of smashed all together, which people liked when we saw old Spider-Man interacting with new Spider-Man. Now, this could be that on an even grander scale, perhaps. We see... sorry, Andrew, I know we haven't kicked it to you yet.
No, that's okay.
We see Pyro in this teaser, which he's older and haggard, and I don't know if people immediately pick up on the fact that it's fucking Pyro, but it's Pyro from the X-Men movies, which is fucking sick. Like, that's so cool. Like, that's such a little sort of thing where it's just like that to me shows that like they're going to be plumbing those X-Men movies, for references and characters to bring back. There was actually an interview with Vinnie Jones recently where he said he declined coming back, I guess somewhat spoilers, but he said they offered him to come back as Juggernaut, and he said, I'm not putting that shit on again. He didn't want to do this.
I'm not the Juggernaut, bitch.
Which they did a Juggernaut in Deadpool too, so they can always bring back CG Juggernaut, that rips Deadpool in half again if they wanted to do that and such. So anyway, that said, Andrew, what are you thinking about Deadpool and Wolverine?
Oh, it looks like too much fun. I'm real excited.
Like in a bad way,
TVA.
Or in a good way. Like you're going to be like too much fun. Like implies that that's a bad thing.
No, never. No, you can never have too much.
You can never
fun.
have too much fun. There's no limit. Okay.
Yeah. I like you said, I think the TVA is a really cool mechanism to make these things happen.
Yeah.
And didn't Deadpool have a comic book run called like Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe or something like that?
Kills the universe, yeah. And
I wonder if that's what the TVA is and like having him do. Wonder if he's going around like I wonder if you see this guy because
chopping off branches.
Yeah, just murdering people. You know, I wonder if that's what I don't know, but I'm
probably
interested
some variants of that. Yeah, would be my guess as well. Yeah.
So, going to be fun. Going to be a lot of fun. I like the Deadpool.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Those
great.
Deadpool movies are a lot of fun. This promises to be more of the same. It's rated R to assuage any concerns. It's full on, Deadpool. It's not,
just
censored
pegging,
MCU
there's all that
Deadpool.
stuff.
Yeah.
But pegging's not new for me, but it is for Disney. That's hilarious.
I think within 20 or 30 seconds or whatever, like it tells you everything you need to know about, like, this is still Deadpool. It's got the Marvel Studios logo atop and everything, but it's still Deadpool. And I think it's kind of funny because we've seen Hugh Jackman with like the pictures they've put out of him in full costume and everything, but it's like, even though this is a teaser for the people that maybe aren't like super in the know on the internet and stuff, you get like the very smallest tease of Hugh Jackman's return.
It's well done. It's really well done.
Obviously, it's called Deadpool and Wolverine now, so like people are going to know, like, oh, Hugh Jackman. Well, they maybe not even know. They know Wolverine's going to be in it, but we don't actually really see Hugh Jackman very prominently in this at all. So I think it's a good teaser in the sense that you get the claws kind of at the end. It's going to get people going. And then
yellow suit.
And then I think when we get the trailer and we get full on, maybe some more interactions between them, like this is. I do think that although this is rated R, I think that's going to hold it back to some extent. This is going to be one of the highest grossing movies of the year, I think. Maybe not the highest because it's hampered enough by its rating. But I do think that this is going to do quite
Joker
well.
made $1 billion.
Right.
This one, I think.
Oppenheimer made almost $1 billion. And that's Oppenheimer. And this is Deadpool. This is a comic book movie about a hugely popular comic. Like Joker's probably the better comparison. But if Oppenheimer is like Oppenheimer could be its floor potentially, in terms of kind of how it does overall. So, and there are ways, for people to see things even though they're rated R. So you just got to bring a parent. You got to bring a parent or a guardian. It's no big deal.
Go watch them with your friend.
Yeah, just be like, that's a superhero movie, Mom. Like, let's go watch it.
Yeah, it won't be violent and horrible and,
No, it's fine.
Any of that good stuff. No, of course not. Deadpool is a very wholesome character, as we all know.
Yeah, family man.
Yeah. Oh, kind of, though. It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
Kind of, though.
All right, so there you have it. There you have it. We got all the Super Bowl trailers. Now we're caught up on the Super Bowl a month late, but that is what it is. Glad we talked about all of that because we've now cleared the deck. We have cleared the stage. It is time. So let's get into it. Dune Part 2
Hooray!
is playing.
Fucking drums.
It was Shan's sand shaking.
We'll let Andrew provide the sound design for this episode of the podcast.
All right, it's finally here.
What I'll do is I will take your little excerpts and I'll just plug it in throughout. So like, Deadpool is like a really, those good movies, just that sort of thing will be great. No, that's too much work. I'm barely able to edit these things in a timely fashion, let alone adding shit like that in there. But maybe there's a little fun surprise up top. Maybe there's a little fun surprise that people might have heard by the time this episode's up. It's a good one. It's a good one. It is playing in theaters only. Dune Part 2 is playing in theaters only. For good reason, perhaps, that we'll talk about shortly. It's written by Denis Villeneuve and John Spates, directed by Denis Villeneuve, sometimes known as Denis Villeneuve. Sometimes we call him that. Sometimes we just call him Denny. We call him Denny for short. Denny's a good short.
Suspecting the man.
Yeah. Dune Part 2 stars Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, Dave Bautista, Christopher Walken, Léa Seydoux, Suhaila Yacoub, Stellan Skarsgård, Charlotte Rampling, and Javier Bardem. In Dune Part 2, Paul Atreides unites with the Fremen people of the desert planet Arrakis to seek revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. So, before we get any further, I think we have to do a box office breakdown if Mr. Sound Design himself can assist.
For Dune, we will do the. I like the Sadakar fucking
box office breakdown. Yeah, something like that. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah.
Dune's playing very well. I think this is probably good news for everyone here. I think we're rooting for Dune to succeed. Again, to revisit the fact of when the first one came out, it was 2021. It was a weird time. It was the first real year post-COVID, and that was the year that the WB decided to simultaneously release everything on HBO Max, which was great because it means you didn't have to go see something in a theater. But it also, I think, hurt box office potential of a lot of things. And the first Dune did okay. I think it ended up with $40-ish million for its opening weekend, which again, counting for the fact that it had the people could just watch it at home, readily available that way, it was a good number. But Dune Part 2 played very well. Its numbers increased throughout its opening weekend, and it ended up with a total tally of $82.5 million opening weekend, which was the biggest opening for any movie since, I think, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, dominated things in October of 2023. And like I said, it just kind of kept getting higher and higher and higher. Like the projected numbers just kept going up and up for the actuals, which is always a good sign, is you're underestimating things. It's bad when you're doing it the other way, when it's going to hit 80 and then it gets to 65 and you're like, that's not as good. That's not as impressive. But it had a really good opening weekend take. That's just domestically. Worldwide, it added an additional $100 million. So its opening weekend worldwide take was about $182.5 million. We are recording in the midst of the second weekend, so I can at least give some insight on that. These are just projections right now. It's projected to drop about 47% right now, which would put it at about a $44 million second weekend, which is a good hold. I think it's a good drop. If your second weekend is better than the first weekend of your predecessor, that's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's doing pretty well. It will finish number 2 for the weekend because Kung Fu Panda 4, I think, is bringing, it's putting kids in theaters. I think, there's been a dearth of, I think, appealing kids movies that have played really well. And so I think Kung Fu Panda is doing really, really well in and of itself. But Dune Part 2 is holding really, really nicely, which is good. It's obviously gotten some good reviews. I think good audience response and everything. So everything seems to be tracking pretty well for Dune Part 2. It's a film that had a reported budget of $190 million. So, we're early in its... is
that less than Flash?
Box office cycle.
That's probably less than the Flash.
Is the budget less than the Flash? The budget
guess.
is definitely less than the Flash.
Yeah.
And it definitely made more money in its opening weekend than the Flash as well.
And it also looks a million times better,
too. They had 2 Ezra Millers,
does.
so that inflates the
they
budget.
They had to pay them, $100 million for each of their performances, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you have to pay off the all the charges.
That's true.
It adds up.
True. It's a lot of property damage. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, anyway, the point being, it's playing well. $223 million worldwide as of the reported numbers so far. That's including the updated domestic numbers. It's been holding pretty well throughout the week. This is a movie I think that will, at the end of the day, turn a profit, which is what you want. Which is what you want out of a big movie like this. It's a success, I think, for something that is, long. It's a long movie. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes, I think, roughly, including credits, obviously. But beyond that, it's not a Marvel movie. It's an event movie, as we've kind of described it, or at least as I've described it. But it is not your prototypical blockbuster kind of movie. I think in terms of people behind it, the concept of it and everything, it's a little bit more. It's kind of a hybrid blockbuster, and I don't know,
it's IP, but it's not like recent IP, Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different thing. I don't know exactly how to characterize it, but I think it's a heightened blockbuster, maybe. It's a little bit more than you'd expect out of.
There's more substance there than a typical blockbuster,
yes.
Right?
Because it's based off of a critically lauded novel from many years ago, many decades ago now. So yeah, there's a lot going for it, and the good news is it's playing well. Maybe we'll get a third one. Maybe we will. Probably will. But we can talk about that later, obviously, after we get a chance to talk about Dune Part 2, which brings us to some non-spoilers coverage. Now, I'd like to, if you guys don't mind, I want it before the dam that is holding Andrew back, before it breaks. I I want to ask everyone individually, kind of what did you do to prepare? You know, like this is an event movie. What did you do to prepare, you know, going into this? And then kind of what did you choose as your viewing experience? And then how was that?
I personally had to recycle all my water.
Okay. All right. So
I drank piss for a week.
So you have to practice, you know, you just have to like recycle, reclaim all your water. And aside from that, so I was reading and kind of like simultaneously listening to Dune, the book. And so I did that. And I rewatched part 1 at home, even though I think they had it like an IMAX screening or something. And
they did do it.
So that was kind of in preparation. But yes. So that was in preparation for it. And then I can talk about like what I did after the movie. But I at the time of watching the movie, I had read and listened to the book, and then I had rewatched.
Was that your first time reading the
part
book?
1 movie?
Yeah.
It was actually my first time reading the book. Yeah, obviously it was like very familiar with the concept of the book, but I hadn't read it myself. So
what'd you think of it?
It was a good experience. I like it. It's different. Like it's the same but different, and we'll obviously talk about it. But there's a lot of it's. I think you know what. I feel like you like to describe it as heady. I feel like this is a very heady book. The concepts and so there's a whole lot in there. And
it's a dense book for as small as it is.
It's dense is a word I would use as well.
It is very dense. And like how do you put that into movie, right? And it's been done before, but obviously this is a different iteration. So yeah, I enjoy the book. I think there are things that I really like about it. There's things that I am like, there's no way you can put this on camera and not make it look ridiculous. And then there are things that I can see how they were translated on screen, which is cool.
Yeah. So when you watched the first movie, you hadn't read the book at that point, then, right? That like
I had finished half of it, so then it got me through the half that it had covered.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
And then since then I finished it.
Gotcha. Obviously. Andrew, I know before even Dune Part 1 came out, you had listened to the audiobook fully, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
I assume you did not revisit the book at any point since then.
I did not.
Surely you remember points of it. But you did rewatch the movie?
I did rewatch the movie. And the first movie is man, so good.
Yeah, maybe this is a good point to remind the listeners, like, hey, I mean, obviously you should watch Dune Part 1 before you watch Dune Part 2. You shouldn't do it just for the sake of, you know, understanding Part 2. You should do it because Part 1 is incredible.
And it's not, really I think it's important too that this movie there is no transition in the movie, right? I mean, it's picking up, it is very much a Part 1, Part 2. You could stitch it together and then have an intermission in the middle, right?
Right.
So, yeah, definitely got to watch the first one. And it is, like I said, it is a tour de force for sure. I think it is a defining, piece of cinema. I think it really redefines the genre, really, of science fiction, what you're capable of. What we are capable of, you know, and what's possible. So I prepared by watching the first Dune, and then I listened to the vinyl for the soundtrack.
Oh, you're right, of course.
Me too. Yeah.
And I listened to that for like a straight week. You know, I'd sort any like available time. I would put the record on and sort my magic cards and just try to get into the world, you know, and it's pretty cool. I feel cool anyways when I do that, you know, but anyways, Sarah says I'm lame. So, anyways, that's,
take it from us. You're not, man. It's super cool.
It's super cool. Yeah. So, that's what I did.
You're with your people. You're with your people now.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And I chose to, the biggest screen that is within, I think the one in Jacksonville might be a little bit bigger, but it's just too far away. So I chose to. I drove to Orlando. I drove to Point Orlando to go watch
For viewing experience, you went to Point. All right,
Orlando IMAX.
See it in a proper IMAX. Yeah. Not 70 millimeter, right? It's just, but it is a legit. I think it's digital now, but the screen size and everything is like the real IMAX.
Yeah,
dimensions.
it's like legit. Shit. It's really big, and it's at least 30 foot bigger than. It's 30 or 40 foot bigger. Than like the Brandon IMAX, right? So significantly bigger.
No.
And the sound
significantly worth the extra drive, I think, in terms of just the
like we talked about it before. You know, like the IMAX branding is kind of a little wonky. They kind of it feels to me like they kind of just give that out everywhere. You know, if you have a slightly bigger screen, we'll call it IMAX. You know, so. Yeah. That theater is a very good theater. I like that theater a whole lot. I also prepared by going to the pub and having Bellhaven beers. I had 3 Bellhavens with
pre-gaming
with my lunch, and I went in a happy man. I was full. I had fish and chips. I had 3 Bellhavens.
Were you able to hold in?
I did. My bladder fucking hurt.
It's a long time.
My bladder hurt. By the end of it, I ran to the bathroom. And I
no post credit.
That's why you get a still suit.
Yeah, it's true. I wish I did have a still suit.
Well, you said you were recycling water. I was like, oh, during the movie, you mean like you were, like just pissing as you were watching. It's like no big deal though. I can drink this water.
Yeah. And the theater was packed, so that was cool.
Packed, good audience, good group of people.
Yes.
Everyone there hyped for Dune.
Yes.
Enjoying Dune.
That's good. Yeah, it was a good theater experience. I went with my buddy Steven. He had watched Dune Part 1. He hadn't seen it yet. So he went and watched Dune Part 1. And he watched it in between like doing dishes and like the lights were on
the cell phone. Like
unacceptable. That's a speedboat in the bathtub.
Even
if it's on a TV, that's a good size.
And he's got a 77-inch OLED.
I don't care what the size of the TV is. It's still a speedboat in the bathtub if you're watching it that way.
Yeah. No, I was pretty displeased with him. I let him know. And he did say after watching Dune Part 2 in the IMAX, he did say, okay, I can see that this is a totally different experience.
Yeah.
So, anyways, how did you choose to watch Dune? And what did you do to prepare?
Let me kick it to Henrique first because I have things to say. How did you IMAX it as well?
So I did get an IMAX, and it kind of snuck up on me because it obviously had been delayed, and it was beginning of February, and I was like, oh shit, Dune's coming out next month. I was like, this is like really soon. So I kind of panicked a little bit, and I'm like, how can I see this in IMAX? And the King of Prussia IMAX near us in Philly is probably the best, closest one, like for proper 70 millimeter IMAX. So we saw this movie at 9 a.m. I didn't know theaters are open at 9 a.m.
Seats. Okay.
But we went there at 9 a.m. and we did it for Dune. And yeah.
I mean, I think you're a morning person anyway, so it's probably that wasn't like the end of the world.
It was like, still
there
were a lot of options.
Minutes ish to get up there, but
yeah, it was a couple options, and it's less traffic obviously early in the morning. But it was like 12, but like even the 12 o'clock, like there were barely any seats left. And I don't think we looked and our seats weren't even great. Like they were like third row, so it was like the first row before you get to like really lower. And so not even the best seats, but it's IMAX.
Yeah.
I bet that IMAX theater's awesome. But it's real good.
How's the 9 a.m. crowd? I got to imagine a 9 a.m. crowd is fucking respectful as all hell.
It was very respectful. Like, if anything, we were the less respectful people because they decided to not have trailers.
You're the asshole.
No, they didn't have trailers. There were no fucking trailers.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Like we left and we have a drive and it was raining and all the things. So like we get there, it's like 9 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I have time to buy popcorn. It's 9 o'clock. The movie starts at 9. I'm like, maybe 25 minutes of trailers. So we buy popcorn. We get there. It's like 9 and change, and the movie already started. And I was like,
oh no! How far were you in?
At least 5 minutes. Like we missed the title. Come on.
Shit.
Fuck, dude.
Okay.
So
So has everyone just seen it the once? Has anyone gone back?
So
for a
yeah.
second
So
viewing
that's
at
the
this
thing.
point?
I've only seen it the once. I really want to go back. It just I have not been able to make it happen. I was looking for
We're still
tickets
relatively close to
as
release,
we were
so-
talking to go Thursday, but they're not up yet for our AMC. So I saw 99% of the movie. If the 1% was trash, then I can't talk about it.
I'd be
but
fucking pissed.
the rest of the 90%.
I would be.
I would
be so fucking irate.
It was like a like.
Oh.
It was like I've never been to a theater, especially for like a big movie that just didn't have trailers.
We're conditioned to have 20 minutes of
That's
bullshit.
the thing.
Like I
Like,
think
I know it's 9 a.m.,
but
but
if
like
it wasn't that way. But like that's what we're conditioned
You
to.
just can't
expect.
drop that on
yeah.
somebody, and you can't drop it on them in
Yeah.
Dune.
Yeah.
so there are no trailers.
That's
Not cool, man.
That's frustrating.
You get a refund on those fucking tickets.
I have secondhand anger and frustration as
No,
a result
I'm-
of that story.
Oh,
The crowd, and everybody was great. So like the rest of it was
That's good.
was
That's
fine.
good.
I'm planning a second
All right,
trip.
all right.
We're gonna go. I had to go watch it with my father-in-law, and I'm gonna go watch
Oh,
it.
it's such a chore that you have to go see it again.
I'm gonna go watch
Make
it in
sound
Dolby.
so unbearable.
So
Okay.
The
yeah.
Dolby.
All right. Well, so I didn't answer the first question that I posed, which is to say my reading experience of Dune has been super choppy and fucked up. I had read one chapter when I saw Dune Part 1 in theaters, and then subsequently I continued reading it and then stopped basically once I got to the point of where the movie ended, and I was like, I'll revisit this later. I don't know exactly what. I don't know if it was a conscious decision to stop there or if I like wanted to read something else or whatever. But then I picked it back up a couple months ago, and I was like, "Yeah, all right, time to finish this thing up." And I picked it up and started reading. I'm like, I don't remember. I don't really remember most of this. So I read some Spark Notes shit to kind of get myself somewhat back up to speed. And then I kept reading, and then I ended up being like 30 pages shy of finishing, and it was Thursday, and it was time for seeing it's time for seeing Dune Part 2. And I was like, it was kind of interesting because I got to a point where I'm just like, oh, I kind of know enough about the movie that I know that the ending is not exactly the same, so I'm not going to feel too bad because it kind of has some level of departure from adapting the source material. So I did stop reading at that. I didn't stop reading at that point. I just didn't get a chance to finish until afterward. So I saw the movie. I did finish it after I did finish the book literally today,
Nice.
and I did put on the Dune vinyl. I did put on the score so I could listen to it and really get fully into it. And I've been reading a lot on my Kindle, but when I finish a book, like I go back and forth. Like I'll read a Kindle when I have a lunch break at work or something like that because it's easier to transport. But I like having the hardcover,
absolutely.
to like read and like physically hold. So when I finished it, I did it on the hardcover, which felt
And
nice,
you have a
it
badass
was
copy
satisfying.
too. Badass copy. There.
And I finished.
Is it the
I swear I
blue
read
like binding?
Yeah, it's the blue pages and stuff. Yeah, it's one of the new deluxe hardcovers they've put out, which I think they've put out for Messiah and Children as well. But when I finished like the last word, side A of the vinyl like ended.
No.
And I was just
Oh,
like, you can't. I mean, come on. So, and I did also rewatch Dune Part 1. I did accomplish that. What a wonderful movie. I think I'm going to say a lot about Part 1 in comparison to Part 2 maybe later on, but so I'm just going to say that for now. I chose to see this movie Dune Part 2 in Dolby. I'm the only one here that can speak for the Dolby experience. You get a little special I don't know if it's true of IMAX as well. You get a special message from Denny.
I doubt it
the
because
movies.
it's fucking 9:00.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
it's just-
you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know anything about that. Andrew could know if he got a special message from.
I did not
from
get a
Denny.
special
Basically,
message
it's
from
like,
Denny.
He's like, oh, Dolby is the best way to do all this, and it's like, all right, it's okay. He took your paycheck to say Dolby's amazing and it's better than IMAX. I appreciate that, but Dolby has a lot to offer. Obviously, the HDR aspect of it, the Dolby Atmos is obviously this is a movie that can take full advantage of all of that.
The height channels.
It's a good Dolby movie. It's definitely a good Dolby movie. It's good shake your fucking ass while you're sitting in a seat kind of movie. So it's a good Dolby experience. So
ass shakers.
IMAX Dolby both. It's an ass shaker of a movie, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. But I had a subpar viewing experience.
God damn it, guys.
Which I say it all the time. People just don't know how to act anymore.
Were they eating
people
corn and shit? They bring roast beef?
It was not Indiana Jones level. This was not, to the unhinged extent of if I say something to a person, I'm going to get skinned. Like I didn't feel that way. They're going to wear my skin at night because
this was Thursday opening night.
We went Thursday opening night.
Like the first showing, basically.
No, we went in Cherry Hill, which I've generally found that the Cherry Hill audiences, this is New Jersey.
Yeah, and this is you have to reserve this weeks in advance.
This is a ticket you have to reserve in advance. This is a theater you have to drive to. It's not a walking distance. Just fucking bumfuck loser on the street wants to go see a movie and he happens to pop in. Like everyone's here for a fucking reason, right? You know what I mean? And so, you think you're pretty safe going into a Thursday night opening Dolby, which is a premium format, which costs $20 to get in the door in the first place. There's a lot of things that you think this should be good. And I'm going to remind probably Andrew at this point and our listeners potentially as well. When we were previewing Dune Part 2 on our Look Ahead episode, I went on like a 5-minute rant about how people don't know how to act, how people, if someone's looking at their fucking phone during Dune Part 2, I'm going to say that's some disrespectful shit.
Put your fucking phone away.
To Denny, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the good news.
Man.
Here's the good news. It was a somewhat Muad'Dib moment for me of seeing the future, but it was imperfect. It was an imperfect vision. It was not exactly accurate because the phone wasn't the issue. It was the talking that was the issue. It was the having the whole fucking conversation during the first 30 minutes of Dune Part 2 that was an issue.
Oh my gosh.
And they were a row behind and maybe 2 or 3 seats over. And it's just constant chatter, talking to each other, talking to the movie, responding to things in the movie, like Dave Bautista's character shows up and it's Bautista, that. No. But then it's like having a 3-minute conversation after that, and it's just fucking grating, man. Because even though they're not right next to you, you can hear everything they're saying, and everyone else is quiet and respectful because they want to watch Dune Part 2, but you've got 2 fucking jackasses who don't know how to act, who are ruining the experience for every fucking person in the theater because everyone can hear them. And I got to tell you, and I'm feeling it right now, the rage was bubbling. The rage inside was bubbling. It was... I was getting upset. I mean, you would, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good thing we're not a method actor.
I think people can engage with the movie, especially it's opening crowd. Sometimes you cheer and but you don't talk.
I want people to be excited.
You're not talking during quiet scenes and there's very you react something scary happens, you yell and oh no,
right?
It's you make a comment,
if
but
you're hooting and hollering because it's an exciting moment,
right?
If you're laughing because it's funny, if
you're
cheering,
reacting to the movie.
If it was a one-off Bautista moment, I'd be fine, whatever, I don't care. It is what it is. Everyone's excited. I've been opening night for Marvel movies. People get fucking jazzed about this shit. Sometimes people get so loud in response that it drowns out dialogue, and it's kind of sucks, but people are excited. I get people are excited.
Yeah, it's a shared.
But then there's a next level of people are just fucking rude and disrespectful to others.
That's not cool.
And that's what this was. And I was just so fucking mad. I was so mad, and it's the hype is here. I'm fucking excited for this. I've been preparing for this, and you think going opening night feels like a sacred experience everyone's going to be sharing, and
just not.
And Anna's usually the one. Anna's usually the one that's she's not afraid to tell people off. She's not afraid to tell people to shut the fuck up. We all paid $20 to be in this fucking theater because we wanted to watch a movie and not have a conversation with our buddies. If you wanted to have a conversation with your buddies, wait for it to stream on Max in 5 months. Fuck off. You know what I mean? And so the rage was simmering inside, and Anna turned to me and she's like, "Can you do it this time?" And I was so angry that I was ready to fucking explode. I was so mad. And in my head, I'm like, should I go tell a theater staff and then they can tell them to shut the fuck up? And it's well, then that's 5 minutes of me getting out of the theater, talking to someone, missing 5 minutes of the movie. Then they come in and it's can you point out who they are? I'm honestly, I'm not even sure exactly who it is. It's probably the 2 fucking yahoos that I could probably look at and be like, yes, definitely them, without a doubt. But I didn't actually know what they looked like. And I hadn't turned around to be like, hey, you, I don't, So, she said it to me, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give them a grace period. If they can be silent for the next 5 minutes, then maybe they're just settling in. They just needed a little time to get into their shit. 30 seconds, maybe. They say something. So I turn around and I said, "Hey, can you guys shut up?" And I said it, not in a respectful fashion, but in a just kind of impatient, but like, "Hey, like, come on,
right.
come on, like, don't be a fucking idiot. Like, don't be a jackass." And I turned around, kept watching. My blood's still boiling a little bit. These fuckers have the gall, and I shit you not. They start throwing popcorn at me. I start get popcorn, landing in my lap, and like 2 or 3 pieces. It's not a lot, but my blood pressure spikes to an immeasurable rate, and I just turn around and I pointed.
You pointed the finger?
Fuck off! I said, "Fuck off!" And it was some of the most rage I've felt in a long time. And I can hear Anna laughing because she knows that I'm recounting this story. They didn't say anything. They didn't say anything the rest of the movie. I think they knew that I was ready to kill them. I was ready to.
You're ready to pull a Fade Rutha or whatever his name is.
I was ready.
You're like, we will settle this in combat.
So it's kind of one of those things. The closest thing I can liken it to, and like it took me like 20 minutes to come down. You know what I mean? So like there's like the 20 minutes after I say that where I'm still
you can't enjoy the movie.
Rage.
Yeah.
No,
like
I'm like not fully
heightened.
engaged. I'm still kind of just like in a heightened experience, and it's not fun because it's like, are they going to come back and start being fucking assholes again? It's like I don't need to deal with it. I just want to engage with the movie. I want to have a good time. I want to have fun with it, and I settled into it a little bit. But the thing I would liken it to is I got into a car accident before I watched Star Wars: The Force Awakens the second time I watched it. And so I kind of had like the adrenaline rush of like, hey, someone just rear-ended me before I watched this movie. And so like the first 30 minutes of that were like, thankfully it was the second time I watched that movie, so it was just a total blur. But I knew what had happened already, obviously. But it was kind of the same feeling. Man.
I'm just jumping in quick because I could hear his weird accented fuck off from the other room. When he says he was ready, I was ready too. And he basically, like, I was about to say something when he did. And he handled it much better than I would have.
There you go. There you go.
I've never, ever
So I feel pretty good
told
about
anybody
myself.
to fuck off.
You shouldn't need to. You shouldn't need to. It really is just a microcosm.
How
like people
how
just don't
old were these
understand how to
people?
do anything anymore. I'm not even sure. I could not identify.
You
them
were
in a
so mad
for
you were seeing red. You don't even know who the fuck
I mean,
it
it's
was.
like a theater.
I mean, it
It's
was
like
dark
it's
in
dark.
there
It's like
too.
a gajillion
so, like,
people.
I couldn't tell exactly.
You're not looking back. You're looking forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. And my assumption is they were drunk and just being obnoxious because they were drunk. But again, you want to have a few drinks and go see a movie. That's fine with me.
No,
But
man.
be respectful to others.
No, man.
I mean, I feel like I'm pleading at this point, but it's like, I swear to God, it's every other theater experience we go to. Like, we stopped going to one particular theater in Philly because every time we go, it's just a fucking miserable experience of
awful.
people
That
not
sucks,
knowing how
man.
to fucking act in a theater. And it's, I swear COVID broke everyone's brains. And like, not the literal disease, or the fucking vaccine bullshit. Like, it's just
You
that
still know how to
people
act.
stopped socializing for like a year and now no one knows what to do. We still don't know what to do. We're several years on. People have reintegrated. Everyone's mandated to go fucking back to work. No more, work from home bullshit that every fucking employer seems to want to mandate. And it's like, yeah, but people's brains are broken now. They don't know what the fuck to do. They don't know how to act. Like I
I will
just
say
ranting and
that
rambling,
might be. I mean, Florida people are generally like rude.
they generally don't know how to act, even probably pre-COVID.
Exactly right. But my bad.
That's not
theater-
happening down there.
No, not. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think
Right,
I've had
and
on this podcast. I think I've had one, maybe two bad theater
Like
experiences.
bad experiences. Yeah.
But it's like you say. I mean, it seems like every other time you go to the movie theaters, it sounds like something fucked up stuff, man. People eating corn. You got people talking during Dune to the point where you got to tell them to fuck off. Oh man. Oh,
I mean, they just wouldn't stop. Non-stop chatter.
Yeah.
Non-stop audible, loud chatter. Like, even like a light whisper is annoying because it's just the whole time in your ear, and it's like, well, that's fucking annoying too. But like, I just
they don't have the courtey
But
that
like,
you can
yeah,
whisper.
it's like at least you're trying. It's like, yes, like no, it's Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a shame.
They did shut the fuck up. I did kind of settle into it a bit, but I definitely want to see it a second time because I'm sure there are points of the movie that I'm like, that was a blur. That was a blur because I was seeing red at the time. So anyway,
that's fair.
I felt like there were moments in this movie where I said words before they said them because I was fucking pumped, and it came out accidentally. And maybe we'll talk about
the
yeah. Anyways, I said words before they came out of other people's mouths, and I kind of felt like the ass, but I couldn't help it. You know what I mean? I just said it under my own breath.
It was involuntary. Like that was the hype.
I was on Arrakis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think again, and to me, that's fundamentally
There's differences. There's differences.
It's like people reacting because they're into the movie is fundamentally different from people just being jackasses because they think that no one's going to tell them to fuck off. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like having a conversation is just like it's not the place. Like you do that at home.
It's not the place and time. Yeah, like maybe you did that during Dune Part 1 because you could watch it on HBO Max, but not here. This is a sacred space. This is a space that we share on opening night because, it should be a time of community. It should be a time to just everyone kind of like have this fucking
experience,
larger than life, movie experience to take in on Dolby, like, I don't know.
It's a shame.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
Anyway, I should probably leave it there so we can actually talk about the movie. So let's do that. Non-spoilers, Andrew. I think it's time for the dam to come down.
Okay.
I want to kick it to you first because I know
how's the movie?
I know you've got a lot to say. Pretty good movie, but maybe you got a few things to say too.
Well, I got a lot to say.
I got a lot to say.
Who is this?
We can we can Well, I mean, we'll start with the cast. How about we start with the cast?
Let's do it. All right, sure.
I think the first Dune movie. One of the things that set it apart, cool IP, right?
Now, when you say the first Dune movie, do you mean Dune Part 1 or the David Lynch 1984?
No, I mean Dune Part 1.
Just to clarify.
Dune Part 1. Denis Villeneuve's first Dune.
Sure.
The thing I think that really ramped up hype levels was the cast, right? When
totally.
Hey, we're making a Dune
before
movie,
the movie came
and
out.
Here's the cast. And it was just fucking... just loaded. You remember covering the news?
Stacked.
Yes.
Stacked.
Every
time we talked about the movie, we were like, hey, remember this cast? Timothy Chalamet.
It just got better.
There, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh
and another
Brolin.
one.
Yeah. Because they released it in spurts, 3 at a time. You know what I mean? Or whatever. And it's like, fuck, it can't get any more stacked.
But it did.
But it did. And now it's Dune 2, and it got more stacked.
They added a few new names. That's true.
They added a few more names, and they are good fucking names too. Okay, I'll be honest. I haven't rode the Austin Butler hype train. Okay, I haven't been on that train. If he was in that movie where he rides the motorcycles, I think that's Tom Hardy, and he does the voices.
No, he's in there as well though. He is in that movie.
Okay, he is in there. You're right. I don't know.
My motorcycle.
I don't know. Okay, I haven't been riding
that movie.
That train.
Hasn't come out. We've only seen the trailer for it. To be fair, but
I won't. I will not watch the movie.
It was not compelling enough that Disney literally was like, "We're not distributing this movie anymore. Someone else can do this for us." So, enough said. Maybe
enough said. Austin Butler does a very effective job in this movie. He brought it. Every single person on screen fucking brings it. Every single person. In ways that are just so convincing, before we started recording this podcast, I asked Henrique, I said, what is a movie? What is a movie?
What is it?
What is it, right? We talk about Twisters. That's a movie.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about I don't know. I mean, even like A Quiet Place Part 1 or A Quiet Place Day 1.
Day 1, yeah.
That's a movie.
It's a movie, sure, yeah.
Okay. And then there's Dune. Okay? And it transcends the medium in ways that are just in ways that I, to be honest, I've never experienced before. It's just it like it really captures these movies, these two movies. They really take the substance of that book and puts it on full display. Like, it's distilled in such an effective way that I don't know, man. It's just riveting. You get good, like you say it's a heady, or you say it's a blockbuster with substance, right? But I mean, religion's dissected in this movie. Yeah. The faith in general is dissected in this movie. What it means to be a person to different people is explored in this movie in ways that I've never experienced before. I mean, the first movie, I think one of the most touching moments is when is when he's talking to his dad, when Paul's talking to his dad, and he says, at the end of the day, you'll always be what I ever needed you to be, which is my son. And it always touches. I mean, it just rings true every time, right? But now Paul is not only the son of a duke, right? He's also the Messiah to a whole group of people. He's also I don't want to get into spoilers, right? But he becomes so much more to different people, and I think that's a really interesting thing to explore. And then you have the sci-fi bits too, right? So you have the character pieces, you have the relationship drama between him and Chani. And that's worth exploring too. I mean, that's awesome because he's a foreigner, right? And he's picking up on these different things, and Arrakis becomes his home. And like the first part, I should say, because I mean they really are part one, part twos. The first
two
part's
parts
almost
of a bigger whole to be
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. In part one, you explore like Paul coming to a foreign place and learning it and how he becomes, or how he's come to this place, you know what I mean? And being introduced to roles, right? And
Sure.
then in part two, he becomes this place becomes his home.
It is like the Messiah. And like, if you remember the book, they split it up into threes, right? Like I'm completely blanking on the first part, but like I think of that as like the Paul Atreides, like
that's Kaladin. That's Kaladin Atreides. Like him like
the boy going on this journey. It's like kind of like a hero's journey, right? And then the second part is the Muad'Dib, like him joining the Fremen and becoming part of that. And then the third part is the Messiah, like him becoming this other figure, like this different almost deity. And that's, I feel like the second movie, part two, almost covers like those 2/3, like those two aspects, like the Muad'Dib and the Messiah aspect of the story.
And it explores the conflict that he has with these different roles, right? And the sacrifices that he has to make in order to fulfill these roles. And the character exploration with Paul is incredible. And then on top of that, you have a charismatic Timmy, right? Timmy's just fucking
Timmy.
That Timothy, he nails the sensitive side of Paul, and the side that's reserved for private spaces, but he also really nails the commanding nature of Paul and how he, and just
leader.
the way the leader, right? The leader in Paul. Exactly. And the development in the interim, right? The journey from boy to leader. I mean, he fucking nails it. Can't give enough praise to him. And then we're going to talk about Leggy Bay Ferguson, okay? Leggy Bay Ferguson.
All right, I feel like we should rename her.
Oh, okay.
Because I have some notes here that just say Rebecca Ferguson's cheekbones.
Cheekbones. She does have some cheekbones.
I don't know what it is about her face. Like, she just has like a facial structure and like the cheekbones that just like cut through the spice and all the sand. So I was gonna say she should be Cheeky Bay.
Cheeky Bay Ferguson.
Cheeky Bay. Yeah.
Cheeky Bay Ferguson. Well,
but yeah,
her character development is one from endearing mother to it's fucking game time, Paul. Okay, I'm gonna do these things. Okay, and you're gonna be put in this role, and I'm gonna elevate you to where you need to be. Right, and she kind of moves into a different direction. She grows too, but it's like she does things to protect Paul, and I don't think he obviously, you know, he's got a lot of conflict with what she's doing. But then at the end of the day, you know, he kind of just, you know, he sees what he has to do. And so her role as a mother, I think, is really, 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 really compelling because she's forced to do things that she doesn't want to do too, you know. But at the end of the day, she's got her goal. She has her goals set in sight. You know what I mean? And Paul's goals set in sight, and she does what she needs to do to achieve them. Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
The Emperor.
Yeah. Okay. Now.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken's kind of character, I think, he kind of reminds me of our current political system, where you're just too fucking old to get to play the game. You're too fucking old to play the game, right? Your daughter's wittier and sexier and just all
sexier.
of the
Florence Pugh is sexier than Christopher Walken. Excuse me.
Hot take, right?
What a hot take.
You know, and so Christopher Walken's just out of the game, right? He's the old model.
That's
he's
his
the
prime,
old,
maybe. Yeah.
You know, he's the old way. And I think he does a super effective job of acting like a out of touch emperor. You know, who is too old to be playing the game. I mean, he's kind of got like this. He kind of has this look about him where his nose is up at everybody, right? But at the same time, he looks like he's kind of puzzled. Like he just doesn't quite understand, you know? Like he's too fucking old.
Maybe he's not all there all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Nails it. Who else nails it? Dave Bautista fucking nails it. And the dynamic
Bautista!
Yeah. Between him and fucking Austin Butler is fucking spectacular, right? Mm-hmm. Also, the Stellan Skarsgård as the
Baron,
big fucking floaty obese man, nails it. His performance is really good, right? Because I mean, there's a scene at the end of the movie that I thought was just like jaw dropping. We don't talk about it yet.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Hey, maybe let's do this the easy way. Was there anyone here, performance wise, that did not?
No. The one I was building up to though was Léa Seydoux.
Okay. All right. Well then, yeah. All right.
That's the one I was leading.
That you weren't buying, or that you?
No, that really
Benny
Bay.
Okay, I was gonna say Léa Seydoux fucking brought it. Like.
Yeah, she brought it.
She talks about he's like sexually vulnerable.
Yeah, who isn't?
Like,
I mean, I was.
But no, yeah.
What am I doing in this hallway? You know, Can you show me to my room? You're not even using the voice, right? Like, what the fuck are you doing, lady?
She's just
that's
captivating.
pure natural seduction.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. No.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Everybody.
Made me blush. I was fucking my... oh, man.
Is that your room, my lady?
I've never been to these quarters before.
Where are we?
Yeah, I will co-sign
Okay.
all of
very
what
good.
Andrew said,
Yes.
and then just extend the like acting prowess top notch, directing prowess 100% top notch. Like this, if Denny, I feel like Denny was robbed of a Best Director nomination for Dune Part 1, especially when you see the movie nominated for like Best Picture and like Best Sound and Best Cinematography, and like all these other aspects. That like it seems like you probably had a director put all these things together. If he is not nominated for Best Director for this movie, regardless of whatever movies come out this year, there's something wrong. I guess that's not right.
Fully 110%
This is like top.
agree.
This is top notch director skills. Whether you like his style or not, like this is it. And everyone else just brought it. Like Hans Zimmer and his team brought it with another banger of a score. Like the set
At this point,
design.
we've all pre-ordered the vinyl soundtrack.
It's so good. But
part
the
two
thing
at this
is, like, part 1 was so good, and then part 2 brings in new elements. Like, it's not just replaying all the themes from the first one. Like, this is like some true, like, when I think of this movie, I think of like, this is what a Star Wars must have been like when it came out. And like,
You took the
we
words
were
out of my
around
mouth.
when
I
Lord of
put
the
that in
Rings
hold.
came out. Like this seems like on that level of just like everyone here is just bringing in their passion to make this product.
Genre-defining
I think it really
film
shows
is what this
everyone
is.
screen.
Everyone is putting their all into it.
Everyone is on board and everyone's bringing it, and like it really shows. So
No one phones it
like
in.
you just gotta respect that.
Any
You just gotta
aspect.
respect it.
Yeah, totally.
Not fucking talk. And put some goddamn trailers in front of it.
That too. Next, that's my put some trailers, and I guess my other regret was I didn't get the I couldn't buy the popcorn bucket because I think that was an AMC thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is an AMC
Yeah,
thing.
I was like, I want the
I will
Shai
say
Halud bucket.
I did consciously look around in my opening night to see how many people had the bucket, and I didn't really see any. I think we saw like one the entire night, like just in the lobby, and it's like this is disappointing. But I think also because the theater I went to has the Limax that was earlier, it's possible that they were sold out of their
They bought it.
Fleshlight sandworm buckets. So
Can we talk about practical effects and like
we could talk
set
about
design?
whatever the hell you want to please. This is your podcast,
so-
good sir. What do you want to talk about?
the world of Arrakis?
How did they get those worms to be so big?
Well, fun fact. I'll
It's
tell you
really
about
hard.
these fucking worms.
It's really
Did
hard
they
to
use
train
macro photography to get
It's
little
re-
worms but make them look big?
They-
Is that what they did?
It's really hard to get worms to act for you.
They made a practical fucking sandworm. And they use this technique called sand displacement by pumping.
Excuse me, sir. Are you bringing in fun facts?
I am. I had a list of them. I consulted Gemini before on my way home from Sarah's parents tonight, and yeah, they made a practical and they scaled the shit up, right? But they made practical sandworms.
Can I ride the sandworm?
How do you dismount the sandworm? That's what Steven looked over and said. How do they get off?
I had a question too.
Very carefully.
I think in the book they
carefully.
talk about it, don't they? Don't they pull?
It is explained in the book.
They
yes.
rotate the
It's
worm.
like a
Is what they
way.
do to get off. They rotate it by pulling.
I think they also kind of do it to the point of it kind of getting tired a little bit, so that they can kind of safely dismount at that point. But I think that they have ways to manipulate the worm into kind
like
of
they
behaving
pull
way
the
they want it to
scales
behave.
to rotate
Right.
the direction
That's
of
how
the
they.
worm.
That's how they navigate it, and yeah. So there's Frank thought about these things.
Yeah.
And Denny thought about these things and said, I have limited screen time. I don't need to fucking explain for 2 minutes
Explain how to
you
get off
a
the worm.
goddamn
Like,
sandworm.
you
It's
just
enough
have
to
to go for
understand you will have to do it at some point, obviously.
Can we talk about the Emperor's fucking spaceship? You can see it in the trailer.
Oh, the mirrored
Okay.
spaceship.
The fucking chrome on fire fucking spaceship.
That was ridiculous.
It was the most insane, gaudy thing I've ever seen, but it was so fucking cool.
He is the emperor. It feels.
I was gonna say who
Like, it was-
would write it in that, but the emperor of the known universe,
That's right. He flies around in a chrome ball
the emperor of the universe.
that's on fucking fire the entire time. You know? Ah, so fucking cool. It's all so fucking cool. The Sardaukar have fucking claymores. Did you see that? Like, everybody else is fighting with knives, and they have fucking claymores to protect the emperor.
But good sir, you've brought a knife to a claymore fight.
Yeah, right? Did you see the fucking
Might be a little
swords?
quicker. Might be a little more nimble, but this will cleave you right in half if I get a good stroke on you.
It's insane. Oh,
It's ridiculous.
Also, they filmed. This is another thing that's in the trailer, so it's not
Okay.
crazy spoilery. They filmed
All right,
a fucking knife fight on Giddy Prime in infrared.
Yeah,
That's true.
They
That's
transition
so
from
cool.
like
Too.
out that like they're in the building and you have like these weird like Phyrexian like Hellraiser monsters, you know. They're a little bit present in the first movie with like the 6-legged thing, you know, but now we talk
Yeah,
and,
right.
and they eat people and shit. And they're real weird, those Giddy Prime people. The Harkonnens. But they go out and they transition from the like they're inside and like they have the normal color palette, you know, or whatever, and then they walk into the sun and it's just straight
sun,
fucking
right?
monochromatic black and
Yeah.
white shit. And it is spectacular. It is fucking cool. The cinematography in this movie is
it's next level.
it's next level.
It's
so
like,
Greg
striking.
Fraser.
it's ridiculous.
Greg Fraser, fresh
Batman.
off the Batman, the creator last year, Dune
Batman.
Part 1. My dude seems to have a pretty good grasp.
He's got
on
a
how to
knack.
do his job.
Dude knows how to work a camera. Could say
And
that.
not only
Rogue
does he
One.
know how to work a camera, he knows how to be fresh and innovative. You know, like
Sure.
Yeah.
you make a.
Well, yeah, and I think
Go ahead.
well, that's that was what I talked about with Oppenheimer was the versatility of the cinematography, where you're shooting for different colors, you're shooting for different perspectives. Like there's it's not just one look throughout the entire film. If you're really diversifying throughout the film, and it all kind of pops in the same way. To me, you've done your job spectacularly because it's easier said than done. You know,
Sure.
like you think I don't know. To me, like honestly, I think shooting for black and white, or for the kind of that monochromatic look, which is sort of black and white, but not fully black and white in terms of Gaiety Prime, like that's almost harder than shooting for color because it's not common to do these days.
No.
You know, you really have to think about how shadows are going to play. You have to look about how certain colors are going to look, you know, in that sort of lighting. And so, yeah, like this idea of let's use like infrared is such a cool,
wild.
fucking neat idea and execution of how it was all accomplished that like,
And it's such a cool direction
How could
too
you
to
not
make it like
recognize
that.
it?
It almost makes Giddy Prime
Totally.
seem just so.
and it makes more sense for why
godless,
the
you know?
Harkonnens themselves are like these weird bald fucks. You know what I mean? Like bald and pale and kind of just not like they look otherworldly, but also kind of off-putting, obviously too.
Yeah.
No disrespect to bald people, and no disrespect to I don't know. I guess anyone
To
that looks like a
Harkonnens?
Harkonnen, I guess. But
my
they are
Harkonnens.
definitely played very much as kind of just a generally off-putting looking sort of people.
they're
you know?
yeah, and I mean
Yeah.
they're like I said, it seems like very much like a godless place, you know, just devoid of any sort of humanity and I think in the
like yeah,
books
those
wasn't
those
Giddy
creatures and
Prime
stuff
just like
are
completely
just
stripped
nasty.
of all natural resources, like the people just drove it into the ground.
Possibly, it's possible. I don't specifically recall.
Yeah, I think the Harkonnens are supposed to be like they're gluttonous, right? Like they
Right, they're
take and they
gluttonous, they're
take
greedy.
and like
Yeah.
and it's depicted in different ways in the book and some ways that are not the most sensitive or things that we would agree with, but it's like they just take and they've like ravaged their planet of like all its resources, and it's just like this black barren desert, but not an Arrakis desert.
And you get that, you know what I mean? You get that from the planet. It's interesting because Arrakis is a desert planet, right? Devoid of any
Right.
water, any vegetation.
But it's got so many other resources.
It's got so much
and
soul.
life.
And yes, exactly.
got spice.
So it's a real cool dynamic, and it's all caught. And guess what? It's caught in cinematography, which is fucking cool. Watch this movie in silence. And yeah, it'd be a 3-hour silent movie, which would be fucking hard. It would be pretty hard.
Well, you can still have silent movies have score.
Okay.
So you have Hans Zimmer driving.
Hans
the
Zimmer
Fuck
still
yeah.
at it, at least.
Okay, and you got yourself a fucking movie. You know what I mean? Told strictly by the cinematography.
And you get little title cards throughout that say Lasan Al Gaib. He's so humble. He's so humble.
Oh man, Javier Bardem.
Yeah.
Brought it.
Yeah, that guy. Anyway, that's going back to
good.
the cast. But we're moving forward.
We can go in circles.
Denny fucking brought it.
Sure.
Denny executed a 2-part vision. Is there a third part? There doesn't have to be.
There
You're
should
right.
be.
This is
There should be.
this is part 2 of 2. There could be a part 3, but part 3 is not part 3. Part 3 is
A sequel.
2. It's number 2.
Yeah,
right.
You know,
I think
it is a proper
Yeah,
sequel.
we can talk about it.
This-
I think there
talk about it
should
later.
be.
Yeah, I
there
think
should
more.
be and maybe needs to be a part 3.
There's reasons from like the source
Third movie.
material that I would agree with you. However, if we are not treated to a third Dune or a second Dune, his vision for a Dune, his vision, and
It's a complete vision of the book at this point.
yeah. I mean, I would very much
Basically.
accept that. You know what I mean? As the most effective translation I think you could ever really get. I don't think you get better.
I don't think you can do better than that. Yeah, I agree.
No.
No, I agree
would
with that. Yeah, and well, I think like because this is something we talked about. Like when Dune Part 1 came out, we didn't really know that it was really intended to be Part 1. That it would be kind of just half of the book or roughly half of the book or whatever. And I think that had that movie not done well enough for WB to say let's make a sequel and bring everyone back and whatever, that would have been disappointing because it was very clearly made
Oh, it would have been
with
terrible.
the promise of more, with the promise of some of the bigger things to come. This one delivers on that, and yes, there is more story to be told, but I think it completes the story of what Part 1 set up so much
Yeah,
that like
definitely.
it feels satisfying by the end. And the way that Part 1 I think kind of left everyone a little bit wanting because the story was very obviously incomplete. It very much felt like a Part 1. Part 2 doesn't feel like a Part 2 of 3. Even if it ultimately ends up being Part 2 of 3, it is designed in a way that it is wrapping up what everything was set up in the first one. So
Right.
you can get Part 1 and Part 2 as your complete package. Like you said, stitch that together in a 5+ hour movie or whatever. It's long, but it's cohesive and it feels right. You know, it feels like part of one bigger
one
whole.
unique vision, and it's a clear, cohesive one, and
Vision.
Right,
it's fucking good. It's good.
for sure.
Um,
Definitely.
So I can shelve any other thoughts for recommendations.
We got spoilers. We
and
got
spoilers.
recommendation. We got spoilers.
You know,
of
so I
course,
have a
yeah,
lot
so-
to say, but I think that's
All right.
the cast, the score,
That's what you got for now.
all the way up to Denny and his complete vision. I think I've said my non-spoiler thoughts. I think
Sure. So do you feel a little better now that you've gotten a little bit off your chest now? Feeling
a little
better
bit.
now?
I mean, there's
Not-
a lot. There's
not
a lot of
completely
spoilers we're going
satisfied.
to talk
You still
about.
got things to
I
say.
shouldn't have dropped my Claymore, my Emperor Claymore comment. I should have saved that for spoilers, but
That's all right.
Yeah,
I got
I'm sure
I got
you'll have others to
excited.
bring
I got
up.
excited. So
We could tell. It's all right.
There's some more
fucking
spoilers.
claymores.
Yeah.
I got fucking claymores, man. Space claymores. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Fucking space
All right, Enrique.
claymores
It's cool. It's cool, man. I'm not
inside
I'm
a
not arguing with
fucking flaming chrome ball.
you. I'm not.
Is there
arguing. There's no
anything?
argument to be had.
Listen. I'm on my wine. I'm drinking my wine. Maybe I'm smoking. If I'm in Hollywood, maybe I'm smoking a cigar while I'm drinking my wine. He says,
Oh.
"Listen. This is what we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna give these guys space suits. Okay, they're gonna have like blood on them because they're Sardaukar. They're badasses. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put them inside a chrome ball, but it's not just a chrome ball. It's on fucking fire." Okay. And then on top of inside this chrome ball that's on fucking fire, okay, I'm gonna give every one of these guys a fucking claymore. Okay? And they're gonna defend the emperor of the known universe inside a chrome flaming
It's
ball.
like the Kingsguard, man. It's like the Kingsguard
With a
you know?
claymore.
They got.
I can't think of anything more sci-fi or more epic than chrome ball on fire space
Well,
guys with claymores.
No, Dune Part 2, according to Wikipedia, is what we would call an epic science fiction film. So
Epic science fiction. I think that fits the bill.
Ah, it's incredible.
epic
What an
and
incredible
sci-fi.
time to be alive.
Hey, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I gotta give the mic over to Enrique. what did you think about Dune Part 2? Was it an epic sci-fi movie? Do you have some...
All right. So clearly...
It's all yours. Say what you want to say.
I missed the beginning, but you know what? I saw the rest of the movie, and after
That's
the movie...
True. You saw 2 hours and 40 minutes of the
2 hours and 40 minutes, and ever since watching that movie, I've been on that spice. I have just been breathing
Dune is
in
your life.
and taking in and just becoming one with the spice. I'm going to become defigured in the future, but you know what? That comes with the territory.
You turn into a worm.
So I watched the movie. I have not gone back to watch it just because of schedule. It's been really tough, but I do plan to go back probably a few times. We went and we watched the David Lynch film for the first time, the 1984 Dune. So that was a fun experience. And
it's a definitive adaptation of Dune, as
exactly
we all acknowledge and accept. Of course,
so that was the peak, and then I was like, oh, I guess this is Denny film.
See what this Denny fuck can do. Yeah.
And I've been reading more of the books, actually, specifically listening to them. So I finished Dune Messiah. I'm about halfway through the Children of Dune, and I think I'm just gonna go through the Frank Herbert ones at least, because
and then stop. Yeah.
There's a gajillion of them, and I think I have. Initially, I was only planning to do Dune. I was like, I'll do Dune. That's the main story. I'll end it there. And I've just been sucked into the world, and I want to know more.
How is
Messiah? A lot of things. So Messiah is a lot shorter, so you can get through it very quickly. And there's some specific things I want to talk about without getting into spoilers for the next category. But I think it seems like, from my understanding, Frank Herbert wrote Messiah as his own response to Dune and people's response to the book Dune. And he's like, no, I want to like really explain my thoughts on these characters.
Tell you how you're supposed to feel about these things.
Yeah. He's like, no. Like, there are certain things that like I created and I want you to explain more. So I'm going to do a sequel. So it explores the rest of the story. And I think it could be really great for creating like a trilogy that Denny would film. So I finished that, and I'm on Children of Dune, which I think could be a thing in the future, but it's definitely like the next step almost.
Was that a miniseries? One of these things was a miniseries, right?
It was part of the miniseries. I have not seen that one. I'm curious to see like
books for the miniseries. I think it was 2 different miniseries, but related that adapted the first 3 Frank Herbert books.
Okay,
I'd be curious to see that. And then I got the T-shirt Dune Part 2. So
that's true.
I'm all on board.
I wanted to have a Dune pint glass, which Alamo Drafthouse has one, but I don't have right now. I went with Avengers Endgame because it's an event movie. It felt like the closest thing I could approximate to a Dune Part 2. But
I'm drinking Menage a Trois because there's 3 of us.
Yeah,
well, that's true. There are 3 of us. That's pretty. We're all simpatico,
Yeah, we're just riding that sandworm.
That's right.
Riding that sandworm
in unison. All right,
but I can't wait to go back. I think there's such a rich world from both the movie standpoint and the story that it's trying to tell. So this seems like what movies are made for. Like we talk about trailers and things coming out. Like, why is this being made? Like, we already have the book. We already have a movie that was made. Like, did they need to make this? And I think this answered that question. Like, this elevated the story into something that can only be done in a movie with the visuals that it had. And I think that the story is one thing, but also like the way it was made with the mix of practical and special effects. I feel like this is one of those movies that's going to stand the test of time when they create amazing sci-fi CGI that can do even more than the current technology. I feel like this movie's still going to look good.
Because it's fucking practical. That's why.
That's just my take. But there's a lot of special effects too. Like, there's obviously some practical worms, but there's a lot of other special effects with the spaceship and all the things. So, but I think they just really utilize that right mix, and it looks incredible. And this is like, it's not like they had triple the budget of any other film. Like, they had an equivalent budget.
Less than The Flash.
did less than the Flash, and
looks
I'm sorry,
3 billion times better.
I'm sorry to the CGI artists on the Flash, but like it did not look good, and this looks amazing. Like this looks like a real world, and I felt legitimately transported in some scenes to a different planet, like in Gedi Prime in particular. Like this is like, I think in science fiction sometimes it just looks like a different country, or like this is clearly filmed in some place, and obviously there were like they filmed in the deserts of Jordan and other places, but then there are scenes like Gedi Prime that I'm like, this is a different planet. If you told me they went to a different planet, I would believe you, because this is nothing like I have ever seen on our planet Earth. And that goes to the cinematography and the filming in infrared and the weird blobby fireworks that they had.
Cool.
Oh yeah, that was neat. Yeah.
But I'm like, this is something I haven't seen, and I really appreciate you showing me something new. After all these years of movies, bringing something new is really appreciated and very fresh. And I hope that more movies can do what this did in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Is it my time? Is it my time to say some things? I think you guys have covered it, to be quite honest. So
what did you enjoy? Because we heard about the negative experiences. But what was good about it?
Well, the good about it is everything. I mean, to be quite succinct, everything about it. There was not a thing in this movie to me that I thought, oh, I don't like that, or I don't like that. The only things to me, and the funny thing is, because of the recency of reading the end of the book and then going into the movie, and then now kind of having finished the book, is the distinct differences in terms of what it does as an adaptation that stood out to me even while watching the movie. And those are things I want to talk about more in spoilers, so we don't have to, pussyfoot around it at this point. But I feel like a lot of the choices that were made, to at least just touch on that point, I kind of understood everything that Denny and company wanted to do and why they did what they did.
Right.
Like there was never a point where I'm just like, oh, they've changed this and they've made it worse. It was always just like a change, and it's like, well, it's different, but I understood why they made it different.
Yeah.
I understood why they thought we could do this differently, whether it's because, well, again, we'll save that conversation. So the things that I will say are really, again, just echoing a lot of what everyone else has already said, and there's not enough that could be said about everything that went into this movie, but everyone that made this movie into the thing that it was. And we talked about this idea of it being, a blockbuster with substance, those other things. I kind of forgot when we were talking about it. I looked at it. I forgot that the first movie won 6 fucking Oscars.
Yeah.
And I almost I stopped short of saying like, this is like a blockbuster, but it's like somewhere between a blockbuster and like an Oscars kind of movie.
Oh,
but it kind of is.
And so like the weird thing is, I was looking at tickets to watch it again, and AMC currently has it listed as an artisan film.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah,
which is weird, really, but like
it is.
Yeah, it's that weird
kind of
in
threading
between
that needle, where it's obviously got so much love and like budget and everything going into it, and the production of everything is just so impressive. But there is that substance that it looks and feels like a typical blockbuster, or better than even some of the typical blockbusters as we've now well established. But it's just got so much soul and heart to all of it that the story is really, really compelling. And you've got performances that I don't think the first movie got much more than technical nominations, but I mean, Timmy alone, for me, I'm like, shit, throw him in the Oscar conversation, man.
Yeah,
it's early in the
hard.
year. It's kind of maybe a little crazy.
You can throw Timmy, you can throw
Zendaya.
Rebecca Ferguson, you can throw Zendaya, like,
I mean,
without a
any
doubt.
number of the people in here.
A lot
I
of
think some of the roles are smaller than others.
A lot of
and they're
supporting
probably not
characters,
quite-
yeah.
Javier, yeah.
But
Javier was great.
There's not a bad performer in the bunch, and I think that some of these are potentially career-defining performances in terms of
I agree.
how much they have to do. Like, I think Paul is such a obviously layered character who goes through this journey that we've talked about, and the way that Timmy does that, I thought he was great in the first one, but he's next level in this. You know what I mean? Like, I think there are
scary.
people who, and Zendaya, who was in the first one for all of 5 minutes, has a full realized character to chew on in this one, and obviously I think that is, a big boon to her. She's a great performer. She's been great in a lot of things, but this is her time to shine in some ways too. So, and that's true of really almost everyone in this movie. And I say almost everyone. The almost is just the fact that not everyone has as big of a role to chew on. You know what I mean? So, fantastic cast, both lead and supporting. I thought that, you know, by virtue of this being a part 2, it has that opportunity to conclude things a little bit more. It doesn't definitively conclude everything, but I do think that compared to this is just the beginning, this is a more satisfying kind of movie, right? Because it's got a lot more bombastic moments, it's just got a lot more into it, you know, that goes into it, that a lot more in terms of the story that's being filled out. Like the first movie, to its credit, I think has some fantastic world building. Like it had that heavy lift of being able, having to set up what is Caladan, who are the Atreides, who are the Harkonnens, what is Arrakis, like who are the Fremen. Like we get that briefly, a lot more in this. But like, there's so much that it sets up in that first one. What are Mentats? You know, like shit like that, where it's just like that first movie had such a hard job to do. Who are the Sardaukar and their fucking claymores, as we see. You know, who is the Emperor? Like things that are set up and sort of addressed, but it does so much of setting everything up. But it is kind of at the end of the day a lot of setup, and then part 2 is kind of the payoff to a lot of it. So it's kind of, you know, as good as part 1 is, and I think that there's things that part 1 offers, you know, in terms of the freshness and the novelty of it all, that part 2 doesn't really offer in the same way, but capitalizes on.
That's right.
That like, I don't know. They are 2 parts of the one whole, as we've said, but I think that part 2, just because it can build off of everything that part 1
it stands on the shoulders of the awesome movie that came before.
Yeah, like it just feels like your go from minute 1, and then by 2 hours and 45 minutes in, you're enthralled, you know, with everything that you've seen. So I'm really excited to get into spoilers of everything. Obviously, what I will say is great acting. I said that. Cinematography, we've covered that. Fantastic visual effects, practical, digital, otherwise seamless. An amazing blend, perfect. Hans Zimmer brought it yet again. I have shit on Hans Zimmer's lack of effort for a lot of things, and Dune Part 2 are not among that.
When he
bunch.
shows up, he fucking shows up.
When Hans Zimmer gives a shit, you can tell, and when he doesn't give a shit, you can also tell.
This man is like on this, at least in this series, like creating new instruments and like getting people like, I really want you to
he's all in.
like play the sound of the wind, and I'm like, using the human voice, like
his efforts are not unnoticed, you know. And I think that, you know, for me there was like a, you know, they did reuse themes from the first one,
right?
And you know,
motifs.
and the you know, and all that good stuff too. But like, so the first one had, again, a bit more of the freshness, where it was just like, oh my god, I'm transported to a different world just from hearing the fucking soundscapes. And 2 doesn't have the same level of freshness necessarily for me, but it still has the same impact of
the love theme.
This is not Earth. That's true. There are new things. The
love theme in particular, I thought was like really a standout song. Like this is something that like I'm gonna listen to. Like this is some like, I don't know, like put it up against like the Force theme and like some of these other ones. Like this is I'm gonna replay this and remember this one for a long time. Yeah. So a time of quiet between the storm or something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah. I could say a lot about the technical aspects of this movie, and if I'm willing to go out on a limb, there's a good chance we'll talk about a lot of the technical aspects of this movie in probably a little less than a year's time. You know, that's my bold prediction.
Yeah,
a lot of movies in 2024
it's over. It's over.
Movies in 2024 have Dune Part 2 to compete against. You know what I mean? Like this sets the bar in a really high way that is going to be hard to top. In a lot of aspects, technical aspects particularly is what I'm thinking about, but in other aspects too. So, and I thought that this, maybe my final non-spoilers thought, I thought this was a nice step up for Denis in terms of the direction, in terms of the action, in terms of the choreography. To me, this felt more accomplished than Part 1 did in terms of just all of the direction to it. Which, again, the story itself kind of lends itself to bigger scale action sequences, etc. But even when there is a one-on-one sort of conflict, to me, that just felt more visceral, more real, more like I'm worried about the stakes. I'm worried about these people involved, like what's going to happen, that sort of thing. I just felt like it had a rawness to it that the first one never quite had a conflict to that scale. It never quite had anything that it had to do. This one obviously had the opportunity to get a lot grander with a lot of what it was trying to do. And it accomplished it, I think, with flying colors, I guess.
And those spectacle moments are they're elevated because of the stories and the texture.
Definitely,
that
because
people,
you care about these
Yeah.
people, you care about the story, you care about.
But the whole reason,
the
like,
journey.
there's certain
Yeah.
that the risks are being put into play
Sure,
is
yeah.
because the character has now become part of that culture. You know what I mean? So like those moments are made more visceral. They're made more dramatic. Because
Definitely.
you're invested so much in the culture of these people. I think that's
Yes.
it's harmonious. You know what I mean? All the gears of the machine are turning. And the machine's working really good,
It's a well lubricated machine.
Yes.
Yes. All right. I think maybe we should move on to recommendation.
All right.
Recommendations.
Who wants to start? Who wants to give their recommendation of Dune Part 2? You know what? Maybe I should just backtrack. Is anyone gonna not give this a go see this in theaters recommendation? Because to be clear, we have refined our theater recommendations to being go see this in theaters, wait to watch it at home, or wait until someone pays you, or wait until someone pays you to watch it. I think we can safely eliminate the bottom tier. I think based on the fact that we all decided to splurge, do premium formats at first, and to from what I'm gathering, all seem to like what we saw, it's probably a go see in theaters recommendation. So yeah. Anyone want to depart from that?
No,
I
I
will
think
say
we're going to
go
have
see in
various
theaters
Go ahead.
and show up early.
Show up early, just
and
in
if-
case there aren't trailers.
And if someone is being an ass 5 minutes in, tell them fuck off.
bring a
We're
Chris
watching
knife.
a movie.
Bring a Chris knife or a claymore. It is very effective for getting people to
So
get the fuck out of your way.
with that additive. But I actually did recommend. So I was talking to someone in my office, and I knew that he was really big into sci-fi and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna see Dune. And he's like, I'm really thinking about it, but
What?
I just like watch movies at home. And I was like, no. This was before I even watched it. I was like, from what I've seen, from the sense that I'm getting, you should get some tickets. You should watch it in theaters. And he's like, okay, like, good point. So then I saw him again this week, and I was like, I watched Dune. Did you watch Dune? He's like, not yet. And I'm like, you got to go watch Dune in theaters. And he's like,
Slacking.
I'm going to go this weekend. And I'm like, okay, good. Find some tickets. Cause like, this is worth, if anything is worth the theater experience, this is worth the theater experience. So
it's worth the theater experience.
100%.
It's maybe worth paying extra for a premium theater experience, right?
this is selling out IMAX. This is like,
Right. You
This
want to see
is-
this in IMAX, like proper, true IMAX, plan in advance. Even probably by
Yeah.
the time this goes up, plan in advance, because this is the type of movie that people are pre-booking weeks in advance for this. Still, like not
I think
just
the CEO of
opening day, opening
IMAX
weekend.
or president or whatever of IMAX was saying like they would have had more showings if they had more IMAX theaters.
Well, they got a few IMAXs that maybe pad the numbers a little bit, but I wish there were more true IMAXs in the way that Point Orlando, the way that King of Prussia are, because IMAX as a format is so impressive. I mean, I'm glad that there's a availability of Dolbys and the AMCs and stuff. There's a lot, I think, kind of now at this point throughout the country. But a true proper IMAX to me is still kind of unmatched. Like Dolby offers certain things about it that are absolutely worthwhile. But an IMAX is it's still kind of the pinnacle, I think, overall of like there's a reason that we don't go to King of Prussia for every movie. There's a reason that Andrew doesn't take a trek to Orlando to see every movie in IMAX. It's hard to get to sometimes. It's a pain in the ass to get to.
Not everywhere, yeah.
But you make that trek, you do that because that's the best.
It's like a religious experience,
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
We are just we are the Fremen, and we and we go towards our Muad'Dib.
Indeed. All right, so yeah, otherwise, so it's a consensus go see it in theaters sort of recommendation in terms of how we place it on our scale. Probably not a surprise. We probably could have penciled that in before we even started recording, but always good to make it official. Is there anything else anyone wants to add in terms of just recommendation stuff?
This for me, okay, especially when you really consider like 1 and 2 being kind of like one thing, I think even more so than Star Wars. I think this movie is the best theater experience I've ever had. I think that this movie is
So you didn't see like Empire Strikes Back like when it came out and that kind of stuff,
right?
But like in our lifetime.
I've heard this said online, like this is our generation Star Wars.
That's
like,
right.
In terms of just the hype levels and everything about it. Like
it is for me.
We've had literal Star Wars, but it wasn't like the first time we'd really seen it in this sort of incarnation. Like I know the David Lynch one exists, but like this is premier shit in every facet of filmmaking,
and it's executed. It's executed so well,
and I think more than that, even though it is this kind of epic sci-fi thing, it does seem to have a level of crossover appeal. In a way that like
surprisingly,
Wars, there are people that don't like Star Wars. Obviously, there are people that Star Wars doesn't appeal to whatsoever, and there will certainly be people out there that Dune doesn't appeal to because of this reason or that reason. And then it is what it is. But I do think it's not just limited to people that are like sci-fi. Like it's way more than that.
It's a character
This does
piece.
have crossover appeal to a general audience as a whole. It has crossover appeal to men, to women, to anyone. You know what I mean? So it because there's just so much richness to it, not just in terms of the production, of it all, but the story, the characters, everything is just very, very rich and inviting and interesting, I think, for certainly the three of us, but for people that aren't like the three of us at the same time too.
Sure. And I think that, like I said at the top, like what is a movie? And this movie, the experience that you get in a premium format, and the experience in just I would imagine in a theater and just in general, it really does. It's not just it's more than just watching a movie. You know what I mean? It really
Sure.
It's very much an experience, and of course, see it in the biggest, loudest, cleanest way that you can. But it's important to know, for me, for my money, this is the best experience that I've had in a movie theater. And I've seen a lot of good movies in movie theaters. This is just something different. More so than 2049. 2049 is an excellent movie. I have that poster up in the man cave. I don't have very many posters up in the man cave. I have 3 posters, in fact. I have Blade Runner 2049, which I think is a excellent sci-fi film. Okay? I think it's probably one of my favorite. So the poster hangs, Sure. The Big Lebowski. Yeah. I've got sentimental reasons why I got The Big Lebowski up there. It reminds me of our buddy Ben. And I got the dude on the wall, right? I ordered the Dune poster. The Dune poster will continue to hang until something dethrones it. I mean, it's
Dune Part 2 poster, maybe.
It's just a genre-defining film that has changed the landscape of what's possible in sci-fi. And it represents so much more than just the genre itself. I think it's a very It's provocative. It's thought-inducing. It's there's a whole lot of substance. There's a whole lot of adjectives that you can think of to describe Dune, and like I said, the experience of it all, and to be a part of what I think is, like you said, our Star Wars, our generation Star Wars. You know, a movie that will stand the test of time. We talked about it during our Epics episode. We talked about the kind of the correlation between Lawrence of Arabia and Dune, right? And how similar they are. This is Lawrence of Arabia with the trappings of
60 years later.
60 years later with a sci-fi
trappings, like almost maybe a more approachable thing because sci-fi is popular these days,
Exactly, So it's just in the ways that Lawrence of Arabia is incredibly thought-provoking and relative, despite being so old and being as incredible as it is. Much in the same way, this film and the film before it, right? Especially if you view it as a whole,
sure.
This vision for this book coming to screen is just made in such a way, and it's just the production values, the story, the everything. It's a modern day Lawrence of Arabia. For cinema, this movie is huge. For the genre, this movie is huge. I mean, it's something very, 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 very special, I think. So, yeah, without a doubt, the best experience I've had in a movie theater. Go see it in a movie theater if you can. Go see it in the best way you can. And if you can't, and you're just going to wait till it comes out on screen, well, you better fucking watch it then because you have no excuse, So, yeah.
And don't watch it on your cell phone.
Tour de force film.
Or your Apple Watch.
By the highest degree. This is a tour de force film. So.
There it is. I think
Tour de force.
it was many hours ago now.
If you look up
there's
tour
a phrase
de force,
that you could use to describe this movie. That's what I was.
If you look up tour de
This
force, this is the
dictionary.com.
Dictionary
Tour de Force Dune Part 2.
Exactly. Right. This is your reference film for tour de force. So everything else has to meet this expectation or exceed it. But yeah, incredible film. Okay. Absolutely fucking incredible film.
Is it going to get you back in a theater to see it again?
It will get me back. You know how many times I've seen a theater? I've gone to the movie theater twice.
Not recently. I couldn't tell you the last time.
I can't tell you the last time either. This will get me in the theater twice.
Okay. That says a lot right there. Yeah.
There you go.
So I asked it. All right, Henrique. Anything else to add, recommendation wise?
No, I think we said it. You got to watch this big, loud, and hopefully soon.
And don't wait. Yeah, I mean, if it takes an extra week of waiting to get a good IMAX ticket, that might be worth it. But yeah, biggest, loudest format you possibly can have access to, can afford, whatever, and then see it again. Probably, I have not booked a second ticket, a second viewing myself.
Yeah,
but
I'm waiting until that pops up.
It's coming.
I've been eyeing it.
Yeah, I think we're all going to see it a second time. I would have loved to have seen it a second time before we even recorded this to account for sure. the blanks of the anger, and such. But thankfully, it was in the first 45 minutes, so I feel like I was able to experience the full proper end of the movie without seeing red and whatnot. So all right, I think it's time then for us to get into spoilers. But maybe not on this episode. You see, as the Muad'Dib, I have had a vision of the future, and I have seen us recording for at least 2 more hours. And we're, a bit over 2 hours now. Not quite at 3. And that feels to me like a good stopping point for our listeners. And rest assured, we have much more to say about Dune Part 2. And it hopefully won't be a very long wait until you can hear the rest of the conversation. But in the interest of closing things out for Part 1 of our coverage of Dune Part 2, let me just say, on behalf of both Andrew and Henrique, the Lisan Al-Gaib and the Kwisatz Haderach, respectively, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. we are on Patreon at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. Right now, you can go there, spend $2 on a monthly basis, and you will get early access to all of our regular episodes, like maybe the second part of this conversation on Dune Part 2. And in addition, sometime later this year, we're going to be doing some bonus episodes, and we haven't quite figured that out yet, but rest assured, it is coming later this year. So that's always something we offer to our supporters on Patreon. We are on the internet. We are on the internet. Website is watchreviewrepeat.com. If you want to go there, you can get links to our socials, find, our latest episodes, everything. That's all good there. We are also on several social medias. We're on Twitter at WRRPod. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/watchreviewrepeat. We are on Instagram at watchreviewrepeat as well. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please send those our way. Watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com is how you can get in touch with us. So yeah, if you got something to say, send it our way. Our intro and outro tracks, Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. That is licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And yes, what are we doing next? But of course, it's part 2 of our coverage of Dune Part 2, which will be full spoilers, and then all the catching up that we've been up to. Bringing Henrique on to talk about things finally. Now that he's actually here with us, he can actually talk about the things that he's been up to and not have to just record it ahead of time, and then we get to plug it in later. So yeah, lots more to come. And I guess it just falls to me to say, take care now, bye-bye then, and later's on the Menjay.